Quickly back to the line. Mathis dancing. Touchdown. Unbelievable effort. And Tony Mathis gets West Virginia on the board.
Welcome to Sikkim 365 Radio.
A linebacker by nature, but an excellent fullback in there. Instead, they're going to give it to the tight end. And Sims has gotten himself in there. Touchdown, Baylor.
The Sikkim 365 Radio Friday show is brought to you by Bird Culchin Ford.
Play action, shaken over the middle, caught, Holmes, gun, touchdown, Baylor.
Sikkim 365 Radio is presented by IdealMRI.com. High-quality MRIs for $497 or less. IdealMRI.com. Your health is important, so is your budget.
First down and 10 inside the 30. Shapin, escape, loses the football. West Virginia's got it. Taking it the other way, it's Cox. He's got some space in front. Cox, speed, Cox, touchdown. A game breaker, a momentum buster, and West Virginia is an extra point away from the tie.
Sikkim 365 Radio is also brought to you by Texas Farm Bureau Insurance, protecting Texans since 1952.
And Squirrel Williams gets to the sideline. Squirrel Williams still on his feet. Squirrel Williams, touchdown, Baylor.
Have you subscribed to our YouTube channel? Search 365 Sports on YouTube. Brought to you by TFNB, your bank for life.
Oh, it's blocked. The extra point is blocked. And West Virginia's got a chance to return it. Nothing but green grass in front. 2 more points on the board.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And it is the day after West Virginia in a shootout in Morgantown beats Baylor 43-40. We'll get to that. Look at a game also last night for a future Big 12 team, and look at the weekend with many different analysts to dissect 43-40. West Virginia beats Baylor. Neil Brown and company needed that win. So did Baylor. And weird things happened in Morgantown, but also West Virginia made the plays. And Paul, Craig, average teams, and that's what Baylor is, they're 3-3, make plays to keep themselves from winning games they should.
Yeah, both those teams did. Inevitably, it was going to be somebody winning, and the Morgantown curse continues for Baylor. But the biggest thing last night was they would follow up a really good thing with a bad thing. Blake Shapen's fumble came right after a really nice gain on a pass play. The Quaylen Jones fumble came after a huge fourth down stop on defense. When you have a defensive conversion, just by the very nature of that play, it's a good thing, a bad thing that happens after a good thing. You know, that just on and on and on and on. They had all of those kind of compile on them all night long, and there's a lot of issues that we'll dive into with this team. I think that they don't have a lot of dudes that are freakish athletes that can step up in that moment. They're really missing their stars from last year. Nobody's really stepped up in to make those plays when everything's not going your way and you need your stars to make a play. You don't see those guys. Plus, they have been ravaged by injuries, and that's not going to get any easier as the season goes on.
Yeah, I mean, the whole thing is just pretty much a disaster at this point. I mean, from injuries to, the losses to last night. Last night was, I think inexcusable is too strong of a word, but I think you guys know the direction I'm going by referencing that word. Yeah. It's not inexcusable that they lost last night. That was an awful look. That was an awful look. That was an awful loss. Just bad. And I think for West Virginia fans, I wonder how many woke up today a little bit more clear-minded than last night after celebrating last night, as they rightfully should, and are now waking up today going, man, that was great, but oh, man, that means Neil Brown's probably a little bit safer. Because I'll tell you what, man, West Virginia, hats off to them and the effort that they had. And I know that went from an apathetic crowd and not a very good showing to Baylor basically taking a syringe of energy and shooting it into them over and over again to rile up the crowd to then cheer against them. It was insane how many self-inflicted wounds there were. And so by the end of the night, West Virginia sitting there clapping and applauding and doing all that. But I got to tell you, man, they're fine. They're good too. They're okay. But I almost feel like that loss for them kind of delays the inevitable in so many ways as far as, how they're looking at their football team. And I've been somebody who's really, been very positive about Neil Brown and all of that, but they're fine. They're okay. And that's good. And so that was a good win for them last night. But, I think it kind of probably covers up sort of where they actually are in so many ways. But then again, they've lost some close games. So good for them. They're probably about right where they should be. But I do think that was less West Virginia and that was far more Baylor. It was the story of that game in terms of the self-inflicted mistakes and not taking that game by the throat when they had the opportunity to do so time and time again. They just refused to make things easy on themselves. And, just too many costly errors. And some of those were West Virginia making a play, but a blocked extra point, a fumble in the football, and a scoop.
Not just a blocked extra point, one that's run back for 2 points. Yeah.
Well, okay, you know what? Yeah, blocked extra point, run back for 2 points. A fumble in the football when nobody touched you for a scoop and score. I mean, just stuff like that is just, it boggles my mind that they're making these kinds of mistakes. But here we are. So good win for West Virginia. I think it kind of corrects the course of where they are in terms of maybe a better positive feeling, but I think they're probably headed in pretty much the same direction they were before last night. And for Baylor, they're headed down. I mean, there's no doubt about it. I don't see a lot of wins left on this schedule with the type of football they're playing right now. And, they're capable of winning games, but not with that brand of football, not at all.
I want to put up a stat. One, there's a lot of things to get to. There's lack of pressure on JT Daniels. His receivers also made him look even better. He had a really good game, though. He made the throws. His receivers made catches. The secondary seems to be in either a different coverage or they don't know what they're supposed to be doing. Now, we expect Dave Aranda, the defensive genius, along with Ron Roberts and company, Curtis, Coach Curtis, you kind of knew they were young, but there are guys that aren't anywhere near. It almost reminded me, and I put this on to you yesterday evening, of what Baylor was like back in the early 2010s. I'm not trying to overreact here, but that's what last night looked like. People in the area, but not really knowing where they were. Here is a key. Turnovers. Bottom line, you can't do it. You surely can't do it on the road. Last year, or this year, in the last 2 weeks, Baylor has allowed 18 non-offensive points to be scored on them. Oklahoma State kick return, Oklahoma State safety, extra point block for 2, fumble return for a touchdown. 18 non-offensive points, and I'm not counting the extra points after the touchdowns. Last year in 14 games, 0. Not a kick return, a punt return, a fumble return, an interception return, not a safety, nothing. And they've already given up 18, and it happened in 2 losses to Oklahoma State and West Virginia.
Last year, they were the game changers. This year, they are being affected by the game changers. And the talk from Dave Aranda about losing their edge is very valid. Now, I do think that, outside of, the turnovers, the offense played really well.
590 yards.
Really well at times last night. Blake Shapen was locked in at times, but the fumble was a game changer, and they cannot escape those things. And when you have a team that is fighting average, they will, you'll find yourself back to it. You'll do a great thing, you'll do a bad thing, and you're right here in the middle, standing where they are. And that's when you get a 43-40 game against a team that going into the year, no one in their right mind would have picked Baylor to lose, even though they hadn't won in Morgantown. It's just, there are a lot of things that haven't worked out. Jack actually made this point earlier. We were talking, the defense has 2 problems. One, the defensive backs aren't knocking the receivers off their route enough to where if JT Daniels or any quarterback wants to make a quick run, read throw, he can do that. So the defensive line, unless, you've got 5 Javon Curses up there, really has no chance. But also on the longer drop back throws, they're not getting to him either. So the defense is affected from all different angles. And if you had told me that the defensive line would be one of the most disappointing parts of this team last year, I've been like, you're crazy.
Over 200 yards rushing, over 500 yards they allowed as well. And they were absolutely riddled by West Virginia.
This defense is soft. I mean, they're soft in comparison to what we've become accustomed to seeing over the last few years. And I don't just mean last year. I mean, like the last few years.
Even the team that was 7-6 would bite you, would make you know you played them.
Yeah, you would at least wake up and feel it. I don't know that West Virginia wakes up today and feels like all that differently than when they played everybody else, except for the fact that it was on a weeknight, and yet they've done that. They've played weeknight games already. And the fact that it was a really high-scoring affair, maybe they're tired from that. They're not tired from the physicality last night, not in any way, shape, or form, because there was none to really be affected by. This defense can't tackle or is just not tough enough to tackle. They can't cover. They can't get to the quarterback.
That's a bad recipe.
I mean, so what they actually do well, you tell me, because all the things that you're supposed to do as a defense just in general or be really good at to be a good team, they can't do any of it. And, I just feel massively disappointed for the players because, I mean, I'm sure it's sinking into them and they're realizing it, but, we're halfway through the season and now they're set it up to where instead of like, hey, here's time for the stretch run, let's get excited. It's like, oh God, there's 6 games left. Like we got another. I mean, that's how it almost feels after last night because that was just such an obvious win there for the taking, and they did everything in their power to not win the game. Like it was so frustrating to watch. So, I mean, I thought last night was a gut check. I thought that they responded pretty well. I think if Blake Shapen stays healthy, they win that game. If Squirrel Williams stays healthy, that probably helps them, maybe pop an extra play to win that game. But the combination of injuries and just brutal mistakes and just the lack of toughness and physicality and swagger. And I know that early on, West Virginia scores right out of the gates, and I was already bemoaning the lack of energy, and some were like, well, hey, just give us some time. And you can argue that there was a little bit more energy there. It's still not it's still not anywhere close to what we've come to expect. I mean, there's just, I keep going back to the word swagger, and swagger can be almost like obnoxious, but I don't mean it in that way. I just mean it in a little bit cocky, but only because that's backed up by actual confidence. And I don't feel like they have any confidence to really portray that right now, and it shows because they just go out there and they're just kind of there, and they make some plays because they're talented. So they're going to make plays inevitably, but they're not good enough to actually string plays together. And yeah, that was just a frustrating effort, but it was just kind of more of the same, quite honestly.
We'll hear from Grayson Grunhafer today. We will hear from Taylor McCarg of ESPN today about breaking that game down. We'll also hear from Sam Bradshaw today as he breaks it down. And Ricky Thompson was on the sideline for Baylor Radio. We will hear from him today. I do want to say this, and I know that it's when it's your team, and in our case, we cover Baylor, but I also like to look at it both ways. West Virginia won the game. West Virginia ran through a supposedly, allegedly, hard-to-run against defense that had all these stats about allowing 100 yards or so in a game. Oklahoma State beat Baylor up, not with a bunch of gaping, long, huge runs, but kind of beat them up, softened them up a little bit. We didn't play the game. We don't play the game. But at the same time, that doesn't mean you can't be honest about what you saw. And last night, that was a bad loss, a disastrous loss in some ways, to West Virginia. And I'm going to say this, and Craig doesn't want me to say this. Back when we made our season predictions, he mentioned 8-4, and he took an unmitigated a bunch of heat from Baylor fans about where the 4 losses coming from. Now you better hope they get to 8 wins. And so I'm not saying that people can't get upset about predictions because fans look at things differently, whatever color the uniforms might be. I get that. At times we cover Baylor. There's times we probably get caught up in some of that ourselves. Everybody does. But what you want and you get from us is truth. And we're not going to say, oh, my God, they're 12-2 again. They lost 3 of the greatest defensive players. And, yes, Mike Singletary, Thomas Everett, among others. J.T. Woods, Terrell Bernard, and Jalen Petrie were generational-type players. They had a bunch of others. They also you lost a little bit of that, even though at times Raleigh Tejada would have a game when somebody would pick on him like 2020 against Oklahoma State. How many snaps and games did he play? There's a lot of that missing from this team.
Tell me how many draft classes in Baylor's defensive history have had 3 NFL players on it.
In the first 2 or 3 rounds,
the first 2 or 3 rounds. I'll say this, and I don't mean it to sound like a pun or anything like that, or some kind of weird allegory, but they're the Bears, right? They have to decide which kind of Bears they want to be. They need to be the Revenant Bears, where they're ripping apart Leo DiCaprio and throwing him around, or there's some weird Russian circus bear that's hugging a guy while he's on a unicycle. Like, they've got to decide which are you, because especially defensively, last night, they're not throwing Leo DiCaprio around. They're riding unicycles and eating oranges.
Yeah, Joey Foster, Cousins Corner, and also all of you who do and cover West Virginia, the West Virginia fans on our site, congratulations on the Mountaineers win last night in Morgantown.
Yeah, and I have far less of an issue with people who wanted to take offense to 8-4 at the time, which just seemed incredibly silly that you'd mock somebody's preseason prediction. I mean, really, especially today, looking back at it. But I have less of an issue with that at this point than the people who were apparently, and I didn't go to look because I just don't care, but the people who took such offense to picking against them in Ames.
Yeah. Yeah.
How far off was that really?
Yeah.
Fellas, I mean, how far off was that? How much did they win that game by the way? That wasn't some blow away win, and yet took a lot of heat for predicting they might lose in Ames, and yet here we are. And what have they done to follow that incredible close game up? They've gone 0-2. Including a loss at home. So, yeah, I mean, you can mock things. That's the part that's easy to mock things because there's never really any, retribution for it. You can just say it and then just, everybody moves along. But, yeah, there are some people that are very vocal about that. So, I'm sure they're loving posting right now because, this is not good for Baylor. But
the same people who disagree with you now are saying that Dave Aranda should never have been given a contract extension. That's hypocritical when it comes to fan bases. And I know that's the dumbest damn thing I've ever heard, and stupid if you're even the one that wants to say that. Can you question some things going on? Yes. But to sit there and go up and down like a roller coaster elevator shaft, you're going to drive yourself crazy. All right. Anything else we did not say about West Virginia?
I mean, yeah, good for them. I mean, that's a good win.
The game itself.
JT Daniels played well. If JT Daniels sticks around next year, then I think there's no doubt that Neil Brown's around. I think, after last night, that certainly helps his case. I would be cautious, though, because kind of what I was trying to say earlier is, I've been supportive of Neil Brown, but I watched him last night, and like I said, they're fine. they're fine. If JT Daniels comes back, then they'll be probably pretty good heading into next year. And if they hit the transfer portal well, then I think, with Donaldson and guys like that all coming back, like West Virginia's got a little of a ascent that they could make heading into next season. And perhaps that's the ascent that keeps Neil Brown around for a while. But I would just be very cautious if I were them on, like, definitely celebrate that win as much as you want to, but I wouldn't take away a ton of what West Virginia did as though that was Baylor last year, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, they played well, they won the game, they deserved to celebrate it, but I think you also have to, in terms of how impactful that game was, realize the team on the other side and kind of what's ailing them at the moment. So we'll see if West Virginia can carry that over, though, and maybe that's just the confidence builder that they needed. Again, like we mentioned earlier in the season, they had some really tough, close losses, so this is them getting one back. But, yeah, I think this game, honestly, I guess the best way to put it, this game was more about Baylor than it was about West Virginia, in my mind, the outcome of this game.
You said something, though, that is interesting to me. You said this is not beating last year's team. They just beat the defending Big 12 champions, who won also 12 games last year, their best team ever. No, this isn't that team, but they did beat Baylor, who smoked them last year, so they should be able to enjoy that.
Well, yeah, I just said enjoy the win. I said enjoy it for all you want to, but I just wrapped it up by saying that the point I guess I was trying to make was this, to me, was more about Baylor costing themselves this game than it was West Virginia jumping up and grabbing this game. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
No, okay, that's where I'm coming from with this.
Baylor blanked the bed in more than one way. Yeah.
Like, so yes, be happy about the win, but also realize how that win was accomplished was partially because the other team threw up all over themselves about 5 times last night. So
and West Virginia Stills. They just need to have as many of them on the team forever and ever every time they play Baylor.
Keep procreating, I guess. Yeah, the Stills family.
Absolutely. The Stills family has given them some headaches along the way.
And West Virginia fans, I hope you know where I'm coming from with that. It's not a knock on your win or that out. It's just that Baylor performance is just very troubling in a lot of ways.
The issue is with sometimes games like that, if you win that way, you look at, man, we forced turnovers. And they did. They blocked an extra point and then ran it back for 2.
Blake Shapen said, here.
Yeah.
Have one.
And you can't do that. And last year, those things bounced Baylor's way. The one score wins and all that above. So we will try to put a bow on this over the next 3 hours up until 6 o'clock. Paul Catalina, Craig Smoak, and I'm David Smoak, Jack McKenzie, and Garrett Ross here today. We know a lot of you in the chat room, the text line as well, at 254-339-1122. Coming up, we'll also, again, Grayson Grundhafer, Sam Bradshaw, Taylor McCark, and so much more. We'll also hear from Baylor transfer, Caleb Lohner, as they, of course, last week or yesterday named the preseason coaches pick to win the Big 12 in what will be an absolute battering ram from game to game. This is 365 Sports.
During Jeep Adventure Days, Allen Samuels in Waco is celebrating with an incredible lineup of 2022 models like the Grand Cherokee L, Renegade, Wrangler, and the Wrangler 4xe. These vehicles bring power to plow through any obstacles or the smooth, peaceful ride you'd expect from a Jeep. Jeep SUVs are also known for their design and technology. The Grand Cherokee L even brings you extended seating with a 3rd row. Come see what Allen Samuels can offer you and your family and find the Jeep SUV that fits your lifestyle.
Do you or your kids get nervous about going to the dentist? Stonewood Dental, Dr. Steve Childress, he can help.
I've spent a career taking care of patients who as children had bad experiences, and now they're adults that hate going to the dentist. If I get a kid at 3 years old and they come every 6 months and it's a happy experience, it's normal for them. Now they have an accident at 6 or 7 or 8 at school. Now they have a broken tooth or a trauma, and they have to come here. They're used to lights, they're used to water in their mouth, they're used to experience, they already trust us. It's amazing what we can do with that kid without it being a negative thing. But if I see a 6 or 7 or 8 year old that's never been to the dentist, and now they have a trauma or an unfortunate unexpected toothache, it's harder to do that for that kid and it not be somewhat of a negative experience. So bottom line is I try to teach kids and adults and teenagers and everybody the way I'd want my family treated, which is where it's a necessary part of life. You just take care of it. It doesn't have to be that big a deal.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Cam Heathcott, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Cam Heathcott, covering Conroe and Houston, 936-756-7717 or cam.heathcott@edwardjones.com. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
Automatic Chef Canteen is a full-service micro-market vending and office coffee provider with state-of-the-art vending equipment, a wide variety of products, and offering custom-fitted micro-market vending office coffee solutions for your employee break room. You want a full break room solution and a workplace oasis? Well, Automatic Chef Canteen, locally owned and operated for over 50 years in Central Texas, also includes in-house mechanics on call 24/7 for fast, reliable service and maintenance. Automatic Chef Canteen, 6900 Imperial Drive in Waco, or online at automaticchefcanteen.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must-like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 3 o'clock hour is sponsored by Waco Custom Marketplace. Meats, sweets, Texas treats, and a cut above the rest. 425 Lake Air Drive, Waco.
We are now joined by Ricky Thompson, former Baylor wide receiver, NFL receiver, and sideline reporter for Baylor Radio the day after Morgantown, 4340 West Virginia. Ricky, I put this up, and there were probably other words I could have used, but I said Baylor tonight blanked the bed in a brutal loss. Would you agree?
Yeah, just for the fact that was a winnable game in so many regards, you've got so many plays that you put together that you make any one of those and you win that game, and you do it against a team on the road that's not very good, Smokey. I mean, they made plays, obviously, but they're not that good. And just time after time, and I felt like the whole night, we're going to win this game. I've never felt any different. You know, you have those feelings in certain games that you just think you're going to win. And even throughout with the mistakes, I still thought we were going to win. And just one more mistake, and here you go. You lose 43-40 to a team that you had to beat.
Ricky, this team to me feels like it has no identity right now, that they've lost who they were. Like last year was a physical team on both sides of the ball who would knock you into the turf and make you like it. They don't do that. They don't run the ball like they did a year ago, and they don't defend the run or the pass like they did a year ago.
No, I agree. I think maybe we're finding out just how good Abram Smith really was. That makes a huge difference to have that consistency. I don't think there was a game last year where that dude didn't break a 30, 40-yard run. And we're not seeing that right now. It's not real physical. We got a couple little guys back there. Quaylen Jones, of course, big guy, but he had the fumble that was really costly last night. And, of course, he had a couple of good runs, too. Defensively, man, I'm just not sure we're running a lot of zone coverage. I'm not a coach, never have been, but at some point, go to man, blitz, and if they throw it over the top, they do. But we're just leaving things in the middle wide open. Where if it's 3rd and 5, they were going to get it. They were going to pick it up, and on a fairly easy throw. And I know there are reasons they're doing that, and I'm not sure what they are, but I'm sure they have a reason. But it just, to me, it wouldn't hurt to mix it up and try something different. It's not working. Do something different.
Ricky, what do you see up front defensively to where not even the run was able to be stopped last night? I mean, that, if anything, they could, and I know that hasn't been perfect either, but if anything, you can say, okay, well, at least we know they'll stop the run. But the pressure thing, I mean, that's not changed in 6 games. I mean, JT Daniels had nothing to worry about last night. And the one time they actually got near him, the next play, he was rattled. And then he finally found his groove again. But that was the one time they actually got around him, and you saw the effect of it. Just what is going on there?
Yeah, I'm not sure, Craig. That was Apu. He got in and put a lick on him, and you're right. It affected him. And I don't think there's a quarterback in college football that's not affected when he's getting hit. And didn't put much pressure. I didn't think we brought extra people last night. We left it up to the front 4, and they weren't getting there, leaving coverage deep. So, I looked at that, and maybe if it's not working, change it up. But and run defense, who would have thought that back there would have 160 yards rushing? I would have lost a lot of money on that one. I couldn't see that coming. That was more the surprise than anything. We've been having some weaknesses covering the throw game, as Coach Aranda calls it, but I sure didn't think we'd have a problem on the rushing side. Their best back was out. And then this kid comes in for 168. So to me, that would be the shock on defense, the fact that you let that kid rush for near 200 yards on you.
Baylor has 10 sacks in 6 games, and obviously that's not something we expected, no matter where the pressure was going to come from. Ricky, I put up this stat earlier on Twitter. Last year, Baylor, all the points they allowed were by the opposing offensive team. Now, some could have been after a turnover, and they had to still score. But in the last 2 weeks, they have given up 18 non-offensive points, and last year, throughout 2021 and 14 games, they did not give up anything. Blocked field goal, blocked extra point, kicker, punt return, pickoff, nothing. And they've done that now 18 points in 2 weeks. That's kind of a staggering number.
Well, it is, and it's a game changer. It's just one that completely changes the momentum of a game. Remember, we go down and score, go up by 6, 37-31. You think we're going to put the point up, which makes West Virginia go down and score and kick the extra point to tie the game 38-38. And we get one blocked, and the guy, of all things, gets a pop and returns it, 87 yards, I think, for the 2. And, man, that's just so costly when that happens. And then Chapin, bless his heart, I thought he played well. He stood back in the pocket. He took time. He hit receivers downfield. Gavin Holmes redeemed himself from a couple of drops, had over 200 yards receiving. But then you get the sack on him. He fumbles, and they return it 65 yards for a touchdown. That's a killer. Think about it at that point. We were about to punch that ball in, and I fully expect that we would have scored the way we were moving the ball at the time. That makes it 24-10. Now you're 17-17. That is a 14-point swing. Not just the fact that he ran it back, but it's on a drive that we were about to score. So to me, that one play alone is 14 points and the difference in the ball game.
Ricky, what do you do with this extra time if you're Dave Aranda this week?
Good question. I think, as I did last week, I thought it was a good time to have the extra days. I know you need him for Chapin with the injury. Hopefully you get him back. But I just think you go through that film as they will as coaches, and that's one thing I think Aranda has been really good at, is making the adjustments, finding out what the mistakes are, getting these kids into that mode where they're playing smooth football, and they just haven't gotten there yet. It seems to be a lot of the same mistakes over. I know he's frustrated with it, obviously, but you've got to fix that, or you're going to lose a lot more ball games in the same situation. So I'd spend some time on special teams for sure, and then make my adjustments probably more defensively than offensively. I think we kind of know what we are on offense at this point and what we can do and what we can't. Defensively, I'm not sure that they do. I think there's some things there that maybe need to be adjusted because you still got a lot of players over there, guys. I mean, the cupboard's not bare.
Ricky Thompson with this Baylor radio, former Baylor wide receiver. I know you can't do too much or give up too much, but did you have a chance just to see how Blake Shapen was doing once he was back on the sideline and also maybe as they made the trip back? And second,
man, what do you think, Byron? And he just, I won't repeat the exact words, and they weren't ugly. It was just the point that this he's pissed off. So that's good. Shapen looked fine to me. Now, I've seen concussions, been around him. I know he took a lick to the head. He looked fine after the fact to me, and he looked fine when he came back out. I'm going to be really surprised if he doesn't play next week.
Ricky Thompson with us. Baylor radio, former Baylor wide receiver, was there, turned it around, got back to Waco, and already doing his deal for the day. Thanks for your time, Ricky. We appreciate it. Enjoy a weekend and get some rest.
Thanks, guys.
Ricky Thompson with us, 365 Sports.
Make a winning drive to Genco and refinance your vehicle. Every loan can skip monthly payments for 90 days with rates as low as 3.75% APR for 48 months. Right now is the time to make a play. At Genco, we save you money by helping you pay less for your car. Every loan scores no payments for 90 days. Then have a chance to win 3 more months of no payments. Apply online today for an additional discount of 0.15% off our already low rates. Subject to credit approval, membership eligibility, and loan policies. For more information, go to GencoFCU.org. Member NCUA.
Did you know that 1 out of every 4 men have symptomatic low levels of testosterone and don't even know it? And if you think you're too young to worry about it, guess again. Low T levels can make you feel tired and grumpy, cause weight gain, and wreak havoc on your sexual desire and performance. Petty Clinic Low T can set up same-day blood screening and results, so if you're tired of being tired, I challenge you to man up and Google search Low T Waco or go online pettycliniclowt.com. It's a private clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Affordable, only $150 a month, includes lab work, office consultation, testosterone injections, follow-up visits compared to $395 a month in Dallas or Austin, and you don't have to fight the traffic. Petty Clinic Low T as board-certified physician consultations will provide the best form of brand-strength testosterone available. Contact Petty Clinic Low T today. Just off Highway 84 and Old Hewitt Drive in Woodway, Petty Clinic Low T, helping men become the high-performance men they deserve to be. PettyClinicLowT.com or Google search Low T Waco.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics, the team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics wants to get you back in the game.
Boots add protection. Good boots help you climb better and move forward faster. And when your son or daughter steps into the boots of a U.S. Army officer, they also learn how to lead. In these boots, they'll gain more confidence with expert training in one of more than 150 occupational specialties. In these boots, they'll stand a little taller and lead a team with diverse backgrounds and areas of expertise to successfully accomplish whatever challenge comes next. In these boots, they'll earn respect with valuable experience from day one that will give them solid footing for success into the future. Highly qualified candidates who earn a spot on our team can receive comprehensive health care coverage, college tuition assistance, and a bonus of up to $40,000. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com.
U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Pizza, burgers, and Bears football. There's no place around Waco that serves them all other than Bubba's 33. Come show your green and gold and enjoy some of Waco's best food and beverages while watching your favorite team, the Bears. When real Bears fans get hungry, Bubba's 33 is the #1 spot for ice-cold drinks, hand-stretched, stone-baked pizzas, and bacon-infused burgers. Join us for indoor or patio dining. Bubba's 33, Waco's restaurant and proud supporter of Baylor Bears football. Sick 'em, Bears.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio. It's time for our weekly segment with Grayson Grundhafer of Sikkim365.com. Brought to you by Pioneer Steel and Pipe, where customer service is their main focus, and best in metal, steel, and pipe for large or small projects, with 2 locations in Waco and Bryan. Family owned and operated since 1943.
Welcome back to 365 Sports on this Friday, heading into an incredibly very juicy weekend in college football, but right now focused again on what happened in Morgantown last night with 43-40 Mountaineers beat Baylor, who in some ways threw up on themselves, and West Virginia then made the plays when they needed to seal the game. Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com, again, the Bearcast co-host, recruiting coordinator, and also college football analyst joins us. Grayson, what in the heck did we watch last night?
Yeah, I mean, this was such a weird performance, right? Because, Baylor comes out of the gate and, they started off a little slow, weren't able to get a first down on their first drive. But, after that point, it felt like they were scoring at will. They were moving the ball kind of in a variety of different ways. Blake Shapen was pretty much on the money all first half, and things looked to be going really, really smoothly in my eyes. I know the defense was giving up yards, but it wasn't really overwhelming at the beginning of the game. It really felt like Baylor was in control. And then, you get to a point where it's 17-10 and Baylor's driving down the field. There's, I believe, like 2:40 left on the clock, and they're at the West Virginia 25-yard line. And then you have that huge fumble by Shapen that's returned for a touchdown. And that was a huge turning point in the game, because if Baylor scores there with very limited time left, you're probably looking at a 20-10 game or a 24-10 game going into halftime. And so I felt like that was a really key play in the game. And then, of course, later in the game, the blocked extra point return for 2 points ended up being the difference in the score, or else this would have been an overtime game probably, or at least Kyron Drones would have gotten the ball back with a chance to go win the game instead of trying to tie it. So once again, unforced errors by the Bears. It's really disappointing when Baylor racks up 590 yards and 40 points and they still lose the game. That just simply shouldn't be happening. So you lose the turnover battle 4-1, and these are the type of things that can happen.
Grayson, what's going on with the defensive line?
Yeah, I think that I've heard a lot of people talking about how, it might be a little bit of an anomaly that they're not getting sacked, but I view it as much deeper than that. I don't think they're playing very well, to be honest, and it's really more so the ability to win one-on-one matchups they're not doing, and that's a problem. So they're not able to win those one-on-one matchups that are able to get after the quarterback and get sacks. Those things lead to that. I view the Baylor defensive line right now as a bunch of run stoppers. And obviously that didn't play out very well last night. But when you have a bunch of run stuffers up front and you're not able to win one-on-ones, pass rushing the quarterback, it leads to these problems. And, it's not just that Baylor didn't have any sacks last night. It's that they only had one quarterback hurry the entire game. Like JT Daniels was able to just stand in clean pockets and make throws without even risking getting hit. I mean, it's a huge problem right now. And honestly, that's a problem. The secondary, as we know, is also a problem, which I'm sure we're going to get to here in a little bit. But the thing that I'm really noticing from opposing teams, and especially last night, is that they feel comfortable in the pocket making throws, and then they come into the matchup against Baylor and essentially just target matchups. and they've been able to take advantage of targeting those matchups. And when you watch West Virginia last night, a lot of it was attacking the middle portion of the Baylor defense. When you're talking about the linebackers, the star position, the boundary safety, they're just attacking the middle of the field and attacking those one-on-one situations and attacking those zone situations against those specific matchups, and then just feasting on those and, getting 7-yard completions and then breaking a tackle and that turning into 15 yards. That's kind of how teams are living against Baylor right now, and it's been very effective.
Grayson, I'm not trying to overreact. I'll let everybody else do that, and there's plenty of people on the boards that do that. But as somebody who covers recruiting pretty closely, are you at all concerned or lacking confidence in the overall talent level of this team and what they've been able to do to refill some of the guys they lost last year?
Yeah, it's a little disappointing. I think that, it's just really tough. And it's kind of one of those things where I'm just kind of, I don't know. I'm just very curious about a few things. The whole Al Walcott thing moving to star. Al had opportunities to make plays last night. Wasn't able to come up with a couple that maybe were there, but he just really hasn't been all that disruptive at star. And so, if he's not going to be disruptive there, then, why is he not playing cornerback, which is what he played so well a year ago? He's a guy who I was expecting huge things from. And while he's been okay at times, I don't feel like he's been a true game changer like maybe he could be at cornerback like we saw a year ago. So very confused by that, entire situation there. I feel like the defensive backs they haven't taken a huge step forward. Lorando Johnson, for the most part, I think has been their best cornerback by a lot. But on the other side, they just really haven't figured it out. Mark Milton, I think, is the same guy we've seen over the years. And I think it might be time to give some younger guys a chance. And I'm kind of surprised they didn't do that coming off of the bye week. At safety, I think that tackling has been an issue for that group. You'll see Devin Neal, even Devin Lemire a couple times last night, missing some tackles in the open field or taking bad angles. Al Walcott's in that group as well. That needs to be addressed. And then also, I like the idea of playing older guys at linebacker with Matt Jones and Dylan Doyle. But I was really not impressed with the performance last night of Matt Jones. And I don't know how you fix that, but I think that they're lacking athleticism there. And I think, Trell Bernard, not many people talk about as being the biggest athlete. But his football IQ made him play so much faster than maybe his athletic scores will tell you. And I just don't see that from Matt right now. And that's a problem. And they're getting exposed, like I said, in the middle part of the field and then on those short routes and then on the outside when teams are taking shots deep downfield. So lots of areas that need to be addressed. And like you said, Craig, I am a little disappointed in the growth of some of these guys, but it's also, Baylor's not really allowing some of the young guys to get opportunities. And when you're 3-3, I think it's time to start emptying out the bag a little bit and letting some of these young guys go out there and try to make some plays.
Who are some of those young guys with the chance that they have a chance to play that you'd like to see?
Yeah, I think that when you look at cornerback, I think that Kevin Williams could be a guy that maybe should get on the field a little bit. I think Reggie Bush is also in the mix there. The only problem there is, Reggie's a true freshman. So, you'd be taking lumps for sure. But he's very, very talented. Might be their most talented corner on the roster. And Kevin is a guy who's been on the roster now. And so maybe it's time to at least, give him more of a shot. We've seen him some, but I think he could be a guy that could be impactful. At linebacker, guys, I'd like to see a little more Josh White. I'd like to see him get out there and maybe play. We've seen Will Williams a little bit. He missed some tackles last night. I wasn't, overly enthused by his performance last night, but he is very athletic and a guy that could get on the field more. But I think Josh White, maybe Tyrone Brown, two guys that maybe should play a little bit more. And yeah, I think that's pretty much it. At safety, you're looking at a group that's going to have to mature quickly, and you're already seeing like Devin Bobby's getting reps. So he's playing some. Christian Morgan, Devin Neal are playing some. If things don't get addressed, then maybe you do turn to, a Cisco Castan or a Corey Gordon even and try to see if they can't come in and help things. But lots of work needed. I posted this, I tweeted this, you have extra days here since you played on a Thursday night. Now, I know they had extra days leading into the West Virginia game, and it didn't help. But I think after this game, it's very clear this team needs to get back to the basics, especially on the defensive side. You've got to be able to make routine tackles. You got to be able to keep guys from getting first downs. You got to be able to keep guys from falling forward. Because against West Virginia and Oklahoma State, every time a ball carrier had the football, they fell forward or they broke a tackle and got 5 extra yards. That's not winning football, and that's not the Baylor team that we saw a year ago.
Grayson, this team, I know they've got some really good athletes, but they don't have a superstar either, or a guy who's a kind of a freak who takes over games. Who on this roster has the potential to do that?
Yeah, you would think that that'd be Al Walcott. You would absolutely think that. He is a difference maker. Athletically, his size, his speed, his burst, his physicality. But I think this is another situation. I said it with Terrell Bernard, and it's the same thing with Jalen Petrie. When you bring guys on blitzes and you tell them go get the quarterback, some guys have a knack for it, other guys don't. And when you say, hey, go make a play, Jalen Petrie, Terrell Bernard, they did that. Al's got to do that as this season progresses. He's a guy that there were high hopes for. He's got to take a big leap forward. So he's one. I still have a lot of hope in Devin Neal and Devin Lemire. I just need to see more consistency out of both of them, and especially Devin Neal, because he's getting put in situations where the other team is basically saying, hey, we're going to attack you in man-to-man coverage, and if you stop us, great. If you don't, then we're going to get completions fairly easily. And he needs to rise to that challenge more consistently, along with making tackles, but he's another freak athlete. So lots of guys I think on this roster can do it, but it's a matter of actually putting it together and putting it on the field, and we just haven't seen that so far this year.
Man, the lack of physicality, the missed tackles, like that is I don't even know where to start with the missed tackles and all that. That's mind-boggling to me. Like I don't care who you lost player-wise. I don't care who you lost coach-wise. Like that's just crazy to me that there's having arm tackles getting broken left and right. But Grayson, I'll focus on a positive here. There were some last night. I think obviously Blake Shapen until he got hurt, but how about Gavin Holmes and the career performance that he had? I made a comment after the game, and unfortunately everybody's like, well, who cares? They lost. And it's like, well, it's not about the outcome. It's about the fact that here's a guy 2 weeks ago who played a big role in them losing because he had a big drop pass. And here he was on Thursday night with by far his career best, over 200 yards receiving. That's nearly his season best in one single night. I thought he was just terrific and a man on a mission.
Yeah, he was unguardable. I was so impressed with Gavin. And honestly, he even had some plays where he was running outside receiver quite a bit. So, I mean, he wasn't just strictly in the slot. They found ways to get him the football, and he just went out and made plays. I tweeted that last night as well. He was by far their best receiver, by far their most impactful weapon on offense, along with Blake Shapen. Blake played really well also, but Gavin was a true difference maker. So I was really impressed by him, and I'm just happy for him. Right, that's one of those feel-good stories that you got to be extremely happy about, to see him come back from all the injuries that he's had and maintain this burst and maintain this just want and hunger to be a difference maker. That's what we saw from Gavin last night, and to see him rebound from that Oklahoma State performance that we all know was really, really disappointing for him was just great to see. So, yeah, that was definitely a positive from last night. And he's clearly stepping into a role where it's him, Monterey Baldwin, a little bit of Powell Presley, and then their tight ends with Dabney and Sims. Those are their true weapons in the passing game.
I thought Kyron Drones, considering the moment and where they were, kind of like a Blake Shapen coming in against Kansas State. First of all, he looks the part, throws the part, all of that. He was fantastic. And, of course, the bad throw, you can't make that decision of a young quarterback. Just get rid of it or get sacked. And even late in the game when they had 30-something seconds, you just can't run out of bounds, or you can't even.
He just ran the clock out.
You might as well just throw it down. And it's not really, I don't know what he was told, but you have to do, even if it's picked 40 yards down the field, maybe you get lucky with the tip or whatever. But I liked what I saw. I know there was always a question. There was never a question about his arm, his body, his ability to run, physicality, whatever. Maybe just experience of reading defenses and reps. I was impressed with him, Grayson.
Yeah, as you should be. Absolutely. I mean, that throw he had to Hal Presley on 4th down, I mean, that takes guts. And I know Hal made a great move to get open, but you still got to make that throw. And he put it on the numbers. I was extremely impressed by that throw, extremely impressed by the throw he had to Gavin Holmes, in which he just put on the money to him. And he had a couple others as well. So, yeah, I was impressed as well. The interception was one of those plays that, like you said, you simply can't do it. And it was on 2nd down, I believe. So it's one of those things where you just need a field goal in that situation. You don't really need, a shot like that. You don't need a touchdown. So, yeah, that was kind of disappointing to see. But overall, like, Kyron came in and really filled the role extremely well. He was on the road against West Virginia, a place that's very difficult to play. And I did feel like he stepped in and he was at least serviceable in this game. And I think he clearly showed you, as he gets more reps, he's going to be a very good player. And he's always had the talent. Now it's just more about getting more reps, getting more acclimated with the speed of the game, and just making smart decisions. And I think he's going to be all right.
Are you going to the Westlake Dripping Springs game?
I will be there tonight. I'm very excited about that one. I think, I've been texting with Austin a little bit, been texting with a lot of people who have been kind of talking about that game. And there's this optimism on the Dripping Springs side that they're going to be able to come out and potentially win this game. And I know it's big news around here in Austin. Lots of the radio stations are talking about this matchup. It's going to be a huge one. Westlake's on this 46-game winning streak, I think, and they've won all these state championships, 3 straight state titles. Obviously, Kate Klubnik is not walking through that locker room this year, so there's definitely some thoughts that Dripping Springs might be able to win this game. It's going to be a fun one, though, for sure, and there's a lot of superstars on both sides.
3 straight state championships to coach Tony Salazar instead of Todd Dodge. And oh, by the way, Lake Travis pushed them a little bit, which they used to do quite a bit, but Westlake has taken control of that series. And tonight, Austin Nova Sod, Dripping Springs, and Austin Westlake in a game that our Grayson Grundhafer will be at. That's Grayson Grundhafer, Sikkim365.com, with us on Fridays at 3:45. When we come back, the 4 o'clock hour, we take you until 6. This is 365 Sports.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season. And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
At Ideal MRI, we feel blessed to be a part of the Waco community. We're a small family business right here in Central Texas, and our goal is to bring down the cost of healthcare while maintaining high quality. At times like this, the cost of healthcare has never been more important, and unfortunately, significant illnesses and injuries still occur. That's why Ideal MRI is open and here to serve you through the difficult time. We offer premium MRIs just like a hospital with state-of-the-art technology and specialists, but you'll pay less. Sometimes thousands of dollars less, whether you're using insurance or not. At Ideal MRI, we accept most insurance and there are no hidden costs, even offering financing if that's needed. Everything included in the price, and you'll not get something as a surprise in the mail later on. If you need an MRI, ask your doctor about Ideal MRI. They'll know. You can schedule an appointment safely from home online in minutes at idealmri.com or give us a call, 833-IDEAL-MRI, idealmri.com.
There are 26 letters in the alphabet, over 600,000 words in the dictionary, and just 3 of them said together can change everything. Let's order pizza. Those 3 words lead to dough made from scratch and 3 fresh signature cheeses that blanket golden crust in a heavenly melt on Marco's Pizza that'll blow your mind. So visit marcos.com to order and stop by Marco's Pizza in Belmead, China Spring, Woodway, and in Robinson. Marco's. Pizza lovers get it.
In the market for a quality metal building? Since 1943, Pioneer Steel & Pipe has helped Central Texas residential and commercial customers with metal building design, panel options, building components, and trim options. Pioneer Steel & Pipe's residential line is energy efficient, offers low maintenance, reduces insurance payments, is impact resistant, and carries up to a 45-year limited warranty. In addition, they can also help you find a metal building contractor for your project. Pioneer Steel & Pipe with locations in Waco and Bryan and at pioneersboys.com.
Don's Humidor, your home with a 48-foot walk-in humidor with the elite cigar brands from around the world, including the #1 cigar of the year, Aging Room Cuatro Nicaragua. Plus, they have the great brands like Macanudo and Artur Fuente, Rocky Patel, Aston, and so much more. CBD, great for sore muscles, aches and pains, sleep, Vita Dreams, and anxiety, mild depression, general health and wellness. Their staff very knowledgeable on the subject. If anyone is curious about CBD, ask Carol and Ashley. Don's Humidor in the Townwood Shopping Center off Valley Mills in Waco.
Riverbend Liquor and Wine, Lakeshore Drive, North 19th Street, right behind the bank, is a hidden gem in Waco. If you're a fan of bourbon, especially local Texas bourbons, that's where you gotta go. Balcones, TX, Devil's River, whatever it is, they've got it. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, plus the best selection of craft beers in Waco, seasonally churned out throughout the year, whether it's spring, summer, fall, or winter. Riverbend Liquor and Wine, best selection of craft beers, a speedy drive-through window, and excellent customer service. Find out more on Instagram or just go by and see them. Lakeshore Drive at North 19th Street behind the bank.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
Mathis! He could go, and he will! Tony Mathis!
The 4 o'clock hour is sponsored by Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store, specializing in custom jewelry and repair, all in-house.
Now here's David Smoak, Paul Catalina, and Craig Smoak.
And we start this 4 o'clock hour on 365 Sports and Sikkim 365 Radio. Don't forget tonight, 10:30, Sports Tonight on the CW channel, like every weeknight at 10:30. The Big 12 standings, what and how were they affected last night because of West Virginia's win? You have 3 teams now, 1 and 2, Baylor, West Virginia, and Texas Tech. Texas Tech is off. Iowa State, Oklahoma at the bottom right now at 0-3. And then the upper half, 2-1 Kansas and Texas. And then Kansas State off week 3-0. Oklahoma State, TCU face each other. Both of them are 2-0 at this particular time they play in Fort Worth. Last night, future Big 12 team, UCF, hammered Temple 70-13. Plumlee had a huge game, 373 yards, and also threw for 4 touchdowns for Gus Malzahn and the Knights.
Oh, he was ridiculous last night. I mean, 7 total touchdowns for John Rice Plumlee. He's a fun player to watch when he gets going, and a transfer quarterback who's really worked out well for them. They're sitting at 5-1, and I'm sure they still kick themselves about losing to Louisville. I mean, that's just not a team you should lose to, but they did. But UCF, man, they do look fun. They're fun to watch.
2 games tonight in college football. Navy at SMU up in Dallas, and UTSA plays at Florida International. All right, here we go. 7 picks each week. Levi Caraway handles this. Here are our picks across the board. Craig right now with a 1-game lead. Paul Catalina's got some catching up to do. You like the Red Sox in the American League East?
Well, I'm going to finish in last. And
no, you're not. It's early in the season.
Oh, I'm going to finish in last. I'm not catching Craig. Craig's too smart.
Dude, I just put my picks in 10 seconds ago without any preparation whatsoever. I'll just be perfectly honest with you. Like, I did not do any work on it this week. I'm going gut on this, and we'll see what happens.
All right, let's discuss the picks. Michigan across the board, 2 unbeaten teams. In, again, a game in the Big Ten that could have ramifications on not only the East, although Ohio State looks like they could be the class, but who knows if one of these 2 teams run the table.
Yeah, I haven't seen a whole lot of Penn State. I've watched Michigan a couple times. I do think, though, that Michigan is just a little bit better. This game is not going to be, I don't think, 43-40 like the game we watched last night. I think this one's going to be in the 24-20 range, more than likely on the high end. This could be a really good defensive battle. Both these teams are really good on defense. I think it should be a good one. It's probably the best big noon kickoff game that Fox has had in a couple weeks, so good for them for that. But I think Michigan's just a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, I think Penn State's plenty capable of winning this game. But Michigan ultimately, they played a very soft schedule up until this point. This will be a great little barometer for where they actually are. But I think even with having the soft competition, it's pretty clear they're pretty good. And, I like Michigan here to keep doing what they've been doing, just to have a little bit more of a fight on their hands than they're accustomed to. But should be a great one.
Yeah, I picked Michigan, and I just feel like they got a little bit of that extra edge to them right now after the confidence of last year, although we also said that about Baylor after the confidence of last year. Yeah. Alabama and Tennessee, the Volunteers are very fun to watch. Hooker, the quarterback, Josh Heupel, we know the story there. The question here is Bryce Young going to play, and how much difference will it make after Milroe coughed it up 4 times, or I think 4 times against A&M in a game where they survived? Paul, you take the Vols.
I did that because I'm just leaning towards maybe some gamesmanship on Nick Saban's part, or Bryce Young not being 100% healthy. I don't feel good about it. I don't know. Nick Saban's a wizard. He's Svengali, whatever you want to say. I don't know what to believe, but this is also the biggest game that's happened in Knoxville in a long time. That they have a shot to be in the national conversation this late in the season, and beating the granddaddy right here in Alabama to do it. So maybe a little bit of home cooking here that they might get some juice. So I'll stick with that. Don't feel good about it, though.
Yeah, I think Tennessee's got a great shot to win this game. I'm just assuming Bryce Young will play, and I feel like there's just almost too much momentum in Tennessee's favor to where it's scaring me off rather than convincing me that, their destiny is to beat Bama and move on and, win there's just too much good right now for Tennessee. I feel like that bubble's going to burst a little bit, and Bryce Young's going to be the reason why.
One of the other stadiums.
If he doesn't play, then obviously the pick's screwed, but I just assume he will.
One of the other reasons why Neyland Stadium is so great, Neyland Stadium is so great, is the fact it's on water, just like Baylor's. And, of course, Washington has their incredible view up in the state of Washington where they play. Now, I take Alabama. TCU, and I struggled with this one, and I'm still not so sure. This might be like Tennessee with you, Paul. Tennessee, you're the pick of that. We take Alabama. Oklahoma State, TCU, another battle of unbeaten teams.
I am just going on experience here. Of course, we talked to Taylor McCarg when you hear that, but he kind of got me on this about TCU. I don't know. I'm just leaning towards a more experience here, but again, not a pick I feel great about. And it's 2 undefeated teams. I shouldn't feel great about it.
He said he thought TCU would win.
Yeah. I mean, he's got me. Now I'm all upside down.
I'm taking the Frogs. I like what they're doing offensively. I think Oklahoma State's a really good team. I mean, again, all these games, it going either way is not going to be surprising. So, if Oklahoma State wins this game, tip of the cap to them. They'll be in the driver's seat as far as the Big 12 goes. But, I mean, that's also what's awaiting TCU potentially. And I just like the Frogs to take the keys with the confidence they're playing with and the number of weapons that they have. But, yeah, this is a coin flip to me. I won't be surprised by either outcome here other than, a blowout in one end. But I just think the Frogs are playing really well right now.
At home, it's sold out, and Frog Nation's pumped up as they should be. Oklahoma State trying to carry the banner after playing in the Big 12 championship game a year ago, trying to get back to it. And they might play each other twice. I take Oklahoma State. Now, Syracuse and North Carolina State. North Carolina State's played a nice schedule. Syracuse is one of those that's just kind of quietly winning with Dino Babers, the former assistant coach at Baylor.
Yeah, this is where Syracuse gets to the real meat of their schedule. They're undefeated. Devin Leary's not going to play in this game. He is not hurt as bad as it really looked last week when that happened against FSU. Their backup quarterback's a transfer, a 5th-year, 6th-year senior from Charleston Southern, who ran an air raid there and threw the ball a lot. He did not throw the ball hardly at all against FSU last week. I think it's just because he came in late. I think NC State has enough to win on offense without him. I think their defense is really good. Syracuse has not played a defense like NC State's this year. That's why even with a backup quarterback, I'm leaning towards NC State in this one. And Syracuse starts to pick up some losses, but no matter what's happened, Dino Babers has, gotten himself completely off the hot seat with the way this team has started.
Yeah, I don't feel good. I mean, this is a pick that's an example of me picking like 30 seconds ago because I would rather have had some time to really dig into this and have made a more informed pick. Unfortunately, that's not the case this week. And yes, I did think about Devin Leary's injury, but ultimately just decided on NC State. I don't feel great about it. Like I said, just had to make a pick. So that's the one I made off the cuff, and we'll see how it works out.
And Syracuse, actually, I think NC State is favored in that game. No, Syracuse is the favorite by just over a field goal in that game. All right, Clemson, they kind of flexed their muscles against NC State. Don't have any idea really yet. Florida State up and down. They're pretty dangerous at times. Poop the scoop or whatever you want to say it against NC State last week. Clemson and Florida State.
Yeah, they pooped the scoop.
What the hell is that?
I don't know that one. That's a new one. We're gonna make it in the lexicon. I'm gonna put it in the lexicon. But Florida State and Clemson this week, is Florida State good enough to beat this Clemson team? Absolutely, they have the talent to beat this Clemson team. I don't know if they have the depth to hang with them if it gets really back and forth. The game is in Tallahassee, so that should help. But what I said about NC State and Florida State last week holds true this week. Florida State has to almost score touchdowns on every drive this week to beat Clemson because you cannot rely on field goals. One, because it's Clemson, and two, because they don't have a reliable field goal kicker. So that affects their play calling. I was hoping Florida State would get out of this 3-game stretch at 1-2 minimum. That has to happen this week because lost to Wake Forest, lost to NC State, and Clemson here. I just can't pick them. I think they've got one too many little pimples that they cannot get rid of.
I think DJU's playing really well, and Clemson seems to have found its stride. I'm going Tigers.
I'll take Clemson as well. Is that game? Where's that game?
It's in Tallahassee.
Tallahassee. Yeah, that kind of sometimes helps the road team, a veteran team. Clemson, of course, is the pick across the board. Now, this one here, I really struggled with this one. Mississippi State coming off a couple of really nice wins. Kentucky has kind of started to slide a little bit. The schedule's catching up with them a little bit, but they're tough. They're good.
Will Levis is hurt.
Yeah, and that's, of course, the quarterback
not
position.
Your quarterback.
And what Rodgers has done at Mississippi State, Mike Leach, all of us across the board, Mississippi State.
Yeah, I think what Rodgers has played well, and Levis is hurt. Like, if he was playing, then I would have taken more time on this one, but Rodgers is playing well. Levis not playing, going Mississippi State.
You sure Will Levis isn't playing?
I mean, he's been hurt, so.
Yeah, he's been hurt, but I'm pretty sure he's playing in this game. I think he may be, or maybe that's still questionable. I don't know. I thought I'd seen where he was going to play, but I assume that he's going to play. This is another one. I wish I could have just sat and stewed on it a little bit more, but couldn't do that. So
he's set to go. So
there you go. Thought so. That obviously makes a bit of a difference there. But yeah, I think Mississippi State's playing well. They're running the football nicely, which is not always something you see with Mike Leach teams. So this one I think is maybe a bit of a coin flip, but it's defaulted to Mississippi State.
Mississippi State about a 4-point favorite across the board. It started out at 1.5, and so that's jumped up a little bit. And then this one here is yet another one. Ian Fitzsimmons yesterday telling us that, hey, Utah at home, the way they play, USC has been a nice little fun story. Glitz and glamour, Lincoln Riley, Caleb Williams, unbeaten, and Utah coming off the loss to UCLA, and we have the Trojans from left to right here.
It'll be a tough game. I think that if Caleb Williams is the more explosive quarterback here in this game, but Cam Rising's pretty damn good too. I'm picking the Trojans. Again, this one's going to be close. These are all really, really tough, good matchups this week that we've had to pick. And, I just depends on if USC can get hot, they have better athletes, but they're not world beaters every week. They're undefeated, but they're not beating everybody 40-10. So Utah's going to make this ugly. If it's a rock fight, maybe it's Utah, but I'm taking SC.
Yeah, give me Caleb Williams and company. I think this is a great opportunity for Utah, and they have a great shot to win this game. I know that they've been maybe a slight disappointment in some ways, but they're still very much in the mix, and great opportunity at home. And like y'all have said, USC hasn't been tested very much, but I don't know. I think they kind of rise to the occasion. I think they know that this is a game where they're going to have to, be at their best. And so I think Caleb Williams does his thing, and USC pulls one out in a shootout style game.
Lost to Florida, opened the year, that game in Gainesville by 3, and then lost last week at UCLA 42-32 in a game that UCLA was impressive. I've taken USC to win. So those are the picks. Thanks to Levi Caraway for putting that up and also making it not real easy, because we don't want to do a couple of games that are blowout wins, and I don't know if we would even get some of those right anyway. For Jack McKenzie and Garrett Ross, thanks to our incredible sponsors. Thanks again. So much more to get to, of course, on this show. And by the way, the chat room and text line, we appreciate your time and insight, questions, opinions, and even venom. This is 365 Sports.
In our logo and advertising, we say we are people that you can count on. What does that mean? It starts with providing a quality vehicle and quality service at a fair price. But it also means we do what we say we will do, and we treat people fairly with respect. It starts by hiring great people, good local folks who work hard with a caring attitude. Our employees are the real reason we are people that you can count on. Put us to the test and see for yourself that at Richard Carr Motors, we are people you can count on.
After my first car accident, I feared the biggest damage would be to my wallet. I expected a mountain of bills and a long, drawn-out process. But my Texas Farm Bureau insurance agent was there when I needed her and helped me get back on my feet and in my car in no time. Instead of a hassle, I got reassurance and a quick recovery.
Stop by and see our agents at one of our 3 McLennan County locations.
Coverage and discounts are subject to qualifications and policy terms and may vary by situation.
One size fits all. That may be all right for an adjustable belt or cheap sunglasses, but when it comes to your financial needs, no one wants a one-size-fits-all strategy. Ben Erlinson, your Edward Jones financial advisor, knows that his most important goals are yours. That's why he takes the time to understand your needs, knowing you. That's how Edward Jones makes sense of investing. Ben Erlinson, 100 North 6th Street in Waco, 254-759-8533. Edward Jones, member SIPC.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like First Free Checking, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. The First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Did you know that Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness is a partner of the City of Waco? Did you know that we are open to the public? Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers day passes to the public for only $10 a day, and we offer money-saving memberships. Waco Regional Tennis and Fitness offers over 40 group exercise classes each week, including bar, yoga, boot camp, indoor cycling, and more. There are free weights, weight machines, TRX, rowing machines, stationary bikes, new treadmills, elliptical machines, and much more on the spacious weight room floor. Personal training available where you can be encouraged to grow. Sauna, whirlpool, tanning bed, and kids club. 17 tennis courts, 8 pickleball courts, youth and adult tennis and pickleball lessons. Waco's premier experience where you can help your mind, body, and soul. Visit our website at wacotennis.com. Call us at 254-753-7675 or visit us next to Hawaiian Falls on Lakeshore Drive in Waco.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
McCarg end zone broken up and caught. Touchdown, Jordan Taylor. Wow.
It's time for our weekly segment with ESPN analyst Taylor McCarg.
We continue this 4 o'clock hour on 365 Sports, the night or day after Baylor and West Virginia in Morgantown, with West Virginia winning the shootout 43-40. Taylor McCarg, ESPN college football analyst, joins us on 365 Sports. Taylor, a lot of people today are trying to figure out what in the hell's wrong with Baylor's defense.
Man, it's the million-dollar question right now. Look, the first thing I would say, Blake getting hurt obviously impacted that game. It looked like Baylor consistently throughout this season having trouble putting games away. Special teams letting them down again. We saw the big return against Oklahoma State a couple weeks ago. That block extra point was huge last night. But overall, it just feels, not just on the defensive side, but it feels like a team that is not all the way there and used to closing out games and winning. And it's obviously last year, plenty of that on their way to the Big 12 championship. But this year they're having trouble getting over the hump and putting games away in the fourth quarter.
What were your thoughts on West Virginia last night? That was a win that Neil Brown really needed to kind of buoy the team. But to me, Taylor, the whole game kind of felt like two teams regressing to the mean at different times after they did good things.
Yeah, I thought JT Daniels had a nice game, but it wasn't, he didn't play out of this world. They ran the ball well. West Virginia had over 200 yards rushing, but there wasn't anything that jumped out that you would say, okay, West Virginia did this really well. I thought what kept them in the game was Baylor's 4 turnovers. I mean, the 3 fumbles, that's huge. And that to me is, anytime you have 4 turnovers, especially on the road, you're going to allow a team that you're better than to claw back in a game. And I think that really speaks to, for Baylor fans that are obviously, maybe hitting the panic button. If they clean up turnovers, they win that game. And so there's still everything out in front of them. The Big 12 this year, to me, it's going to take 3 losses to really be out of contention. I do think it's possible that a 2-loss team is going to be in the Big 12 championship at the end of the year. And the good news for Baylor is it's unlikely that West Virginia makes a run at this. So if one of your losses is to West Virginia, it's unlikely that you're going to be in any sort of tiebreaker scenario. All that to say, this does not look like a team in Baylor that I think is going to be back in the Big 12 championship. I think there's some games coming up. I think about their road trip to Texas Tech. That's a team that's playing really well at home. And then down the stretch, man, it's a gauntlet for Baylor to end the season. In November, they go at Kansas State, TCU, and then at Texas. To try and say that they're going to have to win out through the remainder to get back to the Big 12 championship, I don't see that happening this year for this team.
Yeah, I see no chance at all of that happening based on what we've seen through 6 games so far, Taylor. I know you probably haven't had a chance to really dive into this game, but last night it just seemed like it didn't matter if it was 3rd and 2 or if it was 3rd and 22. West Virginia was going to move the chains. I mean, Baylor's defense could not get off the field to save their life. And the couple of occasions when they did, they couldn't follow it up in other areas. But defensively, was there anything in particular that you noticed West Virginia doing, or anything about the Baylor defense in particular where the Mountaineers just stayed on the field and stayed on the field?
Yeah, I thought West Virginia did a good job of staying ahead of the sticks, where it didn't feel like there were a lot of 3rd and longs, right? I felt like a lot of drives you looked up and it was back to, the 2nd and 4. And West Virginia did a really nice job of consistently running the ball well on 1st and 2nd down to where they had those, 3rd and manageables. And that's huge because it avoided, West Virginia only had to go for it on 4th down one time. Now, they didn't get it, but that is the type of game that West Virginia needed to play against Baylor. But to me, again, 4 turnovers in a game on the road in Morgantown. I know it's not a great West Virginia team, but, man, a Thursday night in prime time and you give them the ball 4 times, more often than not, you're not going to win that game.
Taylor, you played the position of quarterback at Rice. Kyron Drones came in a moment where they needed him, and up until the decision when he was being sacked to not throw it away or just take the sack, because you lost any points right there, even though you had the Doyle interception. Can you try to explain just that the pace of the game, the quickness of the game, the speed of the game, and a decision by a young quarterback that is not sometimes easier said than done?
Well, you're exactly right that it is easier said than done because he's coming off the bench. He hasn't played a ton of football. I thought he did some nice things. I mean, his efficiency wasn't bad in relief for Blake Shapen, but the interception was critical. But again, I thought, was there some room for improvement for him? Certainly. But coming off the bench late in a game on the road in a Big 12 environment, a lot asked of him. I thought really Baylor's defense let them down late because that's when your backup comes in, that's when you have to lean on the other side of the ball. And that defensive unit has to say, we've got to get stops for him and give them short fields, make this easier on our offense.
Taylor McCargy, ESPN college football analyst with us, 365 Sports on this Friday afternoon.
Taylor, you are not doing a game this week. You've got the bye week, which is glorious for those of us, like when you get to have a whole Saturday where you just get to watch games. There are some great ones around the country, starting in the Big 12 with TCU and Oklahoma State. This is where we kind of find out maybe who the front runners in this league. How do you see that game shaking out?
This one, so number one, you're exactly right. I'm fired up to have a bye week because I'm going to be watching all of these games. I'm going to be watching the games tonight as well. For Oklahoma State and TCU, I like TCU against really anybody that they stack up against right now. Their explosiveness on the offensive side, until somebody stops them, I think they deserve to be given the benefit of the doubt because I just don't know who in this league is going to limit them enough. And Oklahoma State, I still don't trust their offense and Spencer Sanders. I know he's played better than he did last year, but on the road at TCU, games on ABC, I trust TCU more in this spot. But you're exactly right. I mean, there's so many games. My only frustration, and just as a fan of the game, my only frustration is I feel like the past few weeks, our primetime games and the best games of the weekend all keep happening in the morning. We've got so many 11 a.m. and 2:30 p.m. kicks where by the time you get to the night schedule, I get A&M and Alabama was supposed to be a bigger matchup than it ended up being a good game. But yeah, I think, Iowa State, Texas, interested to watch that. Kansas, I know they've got the backup in at quarterback, but they're more than a touchdown dog to Oklahoma. And then obviously Penn State and Michigan. That's another big one that I think Penn State, undefeated, they're sitting at number 10 in the country and nobody's really talking about them. So interested to watch all those as well.
What do you think of KU without Jalen Daniels? Most likely, I know they haven't officially ruled him out, but for all intents and purposes, they have. I mean, Jason Bean obviously played well, and then on that flip side, I mean, quarterback, I guess where you start with Oklahoma last week, you'd have to hope Dylan Gabriel comes back, but without that certainty as well, what direction do you look if you're Brent Venables?
Yeah, let's start with OU. I think the local media, and I hate to put too much blame on local media around Norman, but there were some pieces that came out about Oklahoma from local media that I think really moved the goalposts on expectations for the Sooners this year. It's just unfair to their fan base. This was never going to be a team in their first year that was going to compete for the Big 12 championship. They have 50 guys on this roster that were not on the team last year. That's how hard they hit the transfer portal with a first-time head coach. It's to think that they were going to come out and be the Sooners that we have come to know and expect was just unfair to the kids on the team and unfair, frankly, to that fan base also. I think they will get to a bowl game likely, especially if Dylan Gabriel gets healthy here soon. But to me, the issues are going back to having that much turnover at really every position. You've got guys out of position all the time. You watch them in the back end. You've got guys running scot-free. I mean, completely, there's nobody around them open in the secondary. And then you've got, linebackers misfitting in the run schemes. You've got linemen that are going the wrong directions when they're trying to pull. It's at all three levels. Doesn't matter. Issues that they're going to have to sort through once they get into spring ball going into next year. But a lot of those are not going to get solved this season. For Kansas, I think what's interesting is the scheme that they run with Bean coming in. He should be able to run that. He's not as good as Jalen Daniels is, but the scheme that they run allows Kansas is beating people by getting your eyes going in the wrong direction and getting explosive playmakers on the outside when you have flow going the other way. And to me, that says, okay, well, you can still win with that team with your backup quarterback in. It's not like it's a super complex offensive scheme like something A&M is running. So I still like Kansas to win this game, even with their backup in. I'm surprised that the line is what it is against Oklahoma.
Has your opinion changed about Texas after what happened last week at the Cotton Bowl?
It has. No, it absolutely has. And I think Quinn Ewers there's really only two guys in the country to me that are playing at a higher level at quarterback than he is. And one's a Heisman Trophy winner, and the other one, C.J. Stroud, is the favorite to win the Heisman Trophy because Quinn does things. And I know, again, against Oklahoma, there were guys running completely open, nobody around them. But there were also throws that he's made against OU and going back to that first half against Alabama that there just aren't very many guys that can make those throws. He's off balance. He's moving one direction, having to throw back to the left. Those are things that, when you talk about arm talent, that's what that means. And if he's healthy, they've only got one conference loss right now. And I don't think it's out of the question at all that if they can they should beat Iowa State this week. If they can get through and even go 1-1 against Oklahoma State and Kansas State on the road the next 2 weeks, I think there's still a chance that this Texas team, you look up and they have a chance to get into the Big 12 championship at the end of the year. It feels like the opposite of last year where they lost the Red River rivalry and momentum went the wrong direction. They went on that losing streak. To me, it feels like they've got their quarterback healthy. They've got momentum going in the right direction. And if they can win convincingly against Iowa State, and look out, this could be a team that, again, we end up seeing in Dallas for the Big 12 championship later in the year.
Taylor McCarg, ESPN college football analyst and color analyst on television broadcasts as well, with us on 365 Sports.
Taylor, Hendon Hooker and the Vols, I mean, a lot of hype heading into this game with Alabama. Obviously, Bryce Young will be the big wild card in this whole thing. I think everybody pretty much feels like if Milroe has to play again, then this is Tennessee's game to lose. But how are you viewing this matchup and what is obviously a huge weekend there for Tennessee in particular?
Yeah, I think this is one where you've got to trust the wise guys in Las Vegas and assume that they know what's going on, because this line was under a field goal and then it jumped to a touchdown in favor of Alabama. And to me, that means Bryce Young's playing. They know something that the rest of the public doesn't. To me, now he might not, but I think it's likely he plays given where that line is. And if he plays, I think they win. I think he's that much of a difference maker. Tennessee's defense, not great. And Alabama will get enough stops on the defensive side that, think about last week, Alabama had 4 turnovers and still, I know A&M's offense isn't great, but really limited most of the offensive production the entire game for A&M. Now, this is a totally different type of offensive unit for Tennessee, but if Bryce Young plays, I like Alabama to win this game. If he doesn't, absolutely. I think this would, Alabama was the favorite still, assuming Bryce wasn't playing. I would think that it's really more of a field goal favorite for Tennessee if Bryce doesn't play, but the environment's going to be incredible. They've got game day coming back. It really will, to me, depend on if Bryce plays, and right now I would expect him to play.
Taylor, are we at a point now with Baylor losing this game, and we kind of discussed this week because the expectations, of course, were very high and things have not gone well. But are we at the point now where you start looking for the how they're going to win enough games to get to a bowl game, or is that a little bit far-fetched?
Well, I don't think it's far-fetched because, coming down the stretch, you've got to get 3 more. And the good news is they get Kansas, which is a game that you would think with their backup in, they should probably be able to win that game, especially because they're going to be at home. Then you got to go on the road. You got to go to Tech, tough place to play. You got to go to Norman. And if they get Dylan Gabriel back, now that becomes, a toss-up game at best for Baylor. What's going to be critical for them is they're going to have to get at least one upset against a team that they're not going to be favored against. Mm-hmm. And that may even be at home later in the year where they're getting Kansas State and TCU. You're going to have to get one of those, because if they don't, if this comes down to they're 5-6 and they've got to go to Austin and get a win on the road, man, I don't know. I would not trust them to win in that spot in Austin. They're going to have to get at least one at home that they're likely going to be a home dog.
Taylor McCart, ESPN college football analyst. Baylor losing in Morgantown to West Virginia, and as he and all of us will be able to do tomorrow with no Baylor game, a chance to sit back, relax, and watch some bangers, some big-time games among top 25 teams. And even some teams like LSU in Florida, Brigham Young in Arkansas that are trying to figure out and get to the next level out of kind of a funk. This is 365 Sports.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist's office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and you know, I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
We're not
joined by Baylor's Caleb Lohner on a day when the Big 12 coaches put out their preseason poll. Of course, that's just a poll. The regular games start here very soon around the corner, and Caleb joins us on 365 Sports. Can you try to put into words the value of what that trip to Canada may have meant to this team?
I think it was really big. It just gave us a perfect opportunity to bond and step on the court. Also, we got some time to practice before any other team in the country, and so I think that Canada trip meant a lot to us.
So you guys had that trip, you had that experience, the minutes, the reps, the whatever else, the ups and downs, and then all of a sudden here comes like the senior citizens, the cavalry, with Adam Flagler and LJ Cryer joining the team and being able to be a part of that. What has that been like?
I think it's been awesome. They've been around when Baylor's won, and so for someone like me coming in to help learn from them and watch them in practice and have them help me understand the plays on the offensive side of the ball and the defensive side of the ball and see the way they lead in practice. I think all of that has been huge for the development of our team.
What's the difference with them as a part of it all? Is it also the ball handling? Is it the fact that they bring extra arsenal of points? Or you mentioned the experience because they've been through the ropes and they've seen the highest part of playing college basketball.
I think it's a little bit of everything, and I just think how dynamic both of them are as guards and the way they shoot it, the way they score it, the way they distribute the ball. It just makes us so much better. And again, they know how to win.
When you transferred to Baylor, we had you on and asked you about coming here and all the goals you had. But we also discussed your three-point shooting and how you were going to, you mentioned you had to work on it. Where do you think you are with that now, just a couple of 2 or 3 months later?
I would say it's come so far, and the support and consistent practice and shooting every day with all the coaches and GAs that have been helping me, and it's come a long way. And again, so blessed to be here and really blessed to see this development and journey that I'm on.
How many of those shots do you put up a day? Is there one day when you work on that more? Give me that routine.
It's just a consistent morning routine every day with 2 of the GAs that I'm close with that get up early, get in the gym, and we kind of have our set number of shots and little goals that we shoot and get them up and get out.
Is it just the reps that made you better?
I would say it's reps, and then also just kind of being in a little bit of a different schematic position on the offensive side of the ball with the way Baylor plays and the speed of the play and how we push the ball. And also, I just think support from the entire staff and all the players and the teammates. So,
with Flo Thamba back, and of course Jonathan and what he's trying to come back from, he's not available right now, and what his story is amazing. What are plans for what you play? And if you play inside, what will be the biggest challenge?
I think just leading and learning the guard, and I'm still learning all the defensive schemes that Coach Drew's throwing at us. And again, just stepping up and being a leader and communicating and taking on whatever role that I'm put in to be successful for these guys.
Before you actually ever met Scott Drew, what were your thoughts of him? And is he exactly what you had already been told, that he is truly that positive in that full throttle?
Yes, he really is that positive and that full throttle. And I think that's what separates him from a lot of coaches in this country. And I remember even coming in as a transfer, it's always different to see coaches when, they're recruiting you and spending time with you to want to get you to come to their school. When practice starts, usually there's a different kind of side of things, but Coach Drew is, again, so positive, so, high energy, but it doesn't take away from how intense he is and how demanding he is when it comes to being great. And I think he's just found the perfect balance, and it's fun to play for somebody like that.
What does Caleb Lohner do if he's not working on basketball and also class?
Caleb Lohner is having fun, doing something to bring peace to his mind, whether it be in the outdoors, relationships, anything that'll bring him a thrill. A real passion for life.
You have seen what Jonathan Jean-Mouchacha was done. He put out an 8-minute piece the other day, Baylor basketball did. Can you try to explain what you have watched him do along the way? I've
actually been really humbled just to watch how hard and how consistent he is when it comes to working out and putting hours in the gym and really wanting to get better. And he's hurt. Like, he's going through rehab, and he's still doing more and more than a lot of guys. And so that's been, a real joy to watch, just because it does show his commitment and love and passion for this game. And it's been fun to, be alongside that and call him a teammate.
Would you bet against him ever playing again?
No. He's gonna play again, and he's gonna be a very successful basketball player. And so I'm just really excited to watch him on his journey.
When you first heard about or saw his injury, did you ever think he would play again?
I don't really know. I don't think I had thoughts that deep. I didn't know kind of the extent of the injury, but after seeing some of it and coming on my visit and Coach Drew explaining kind of everything that happened, the fact that he's up and moving and the way he's doing things right now is a real joy to watch.
Caleb Lohner with us, Baylor basketball on 365 Sports. I mentioned earlier the preseason poll, the coaches put that out. Coaches can't vote for their own team, but we know how deep this conference is, the number one conference in America now for many years, it seems. Does that matter at all, that Baylor's picked number one?
I don't think it matters to the guys, because at the end of the day, we're going to bring the same intensity every game, every day in practice. And with the guys that we have and the leadership and the experience, I just think we're going to be an awesome basketball team. And I'm really excited to get things going.
How would you describe, Caleb, the time since you walked inside the Farrell Center, met some of your new teammates, and also came to Waco? How would you describe the time since that day to now?
I think I would just describe this time as growth. I think there's been so much growth of me on the court and off the court. I think Coach Drew just does such a good job of, finding balance and bringing what he believes in to every aspect of life. And it's been such an honor to be part of a culture like this and be around great people every single day that push you to be great. And so I just think there has been so much growth, and I'm so grateful for it.
You mentioned off the court. Is that just maturing, becoming, understanding life as you grow up?
Yeah, I just think that, and then working on each other's character and learning to be a leader and being the best people we can be off the court.
What will people know about you differently than maybe they do when they've seen highlights at Brigham Young or saw you in Canada? What will they see differently in Caleb Lohner?
I think just a more versatile, dynamic side of me. And I think the way that Coach Drew and these guys have started to allow me to play and do different things, and the way we play offense and how fast-paced and intense it is, I'm just excited to kind of get to the games and start playing and being able to show people, hey, I can do some of these things at a high level. But again, I'm so excited to see how this team starts and finishes, and so grateful to be part of it.
November 7th is the opening game against Mississippi Valley State. Do you already have a calendar up where you check off every day? Is that clock ticking? What's that anticipation like?
Oh, yeah. I think everyone's clock is ticking. It's definitely on the calendar, and it's one of the best times of the year, and we've been working so hard and putting in so much time, and I think we're all just so excited to get this thing going.
Thanks for your time. We appreciate it. Have a great start to the season, and we'll see you soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys so much.
Caleb Lohner, Baylor basketball, Baylor men's basketball, about to start just a few weeks away. This is 365.
Lights shine bright. So, let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby is a homegrown, locally owned pizza place that's out of this world. Everything from the dough, the sauce, the sausage topping is made fresh in-house. Not to mention the amazing pizza pillows, the chicken wings are to die for. Try the Sikkim sauce, chili cheese fries or tots, plus great specials on food and drink every single day. Shorty's is also the perfect spot to watch the game with your friends. Shorty's Pizza Shack at 12th and Bagby. Tell them Paul sent you by.
We're fighting hard at Pickup Outfitters in our battle to end truck nudity. But it's not just about putting an outfit on a naked truck, it's about making sure you have the very best customer service. So we offer the Pickup Outfitters Lifetime Installation Guarantee. Over time, sometimes your outfit needs a little tune-up, maybe some tightening, adjusting, whatever. If you outfitted your truck at Pickup Outfitters, that tune-up is absolutely no charge for the remainder of the time you own that truck. We also offer free warranty assistance. If for any reason you need to use your warranty, you just bring it back to us and we take care of it. It just makes sense. I mean, operating without a promise like that would be like offering customer service in the nude. And if you've seen our staff, trust me, you don't want that. So do your part to end truck nudity by outfitting your truck, Jeep, SUV, or van at Pickup Outfitters, 220 Lake Air Drive in Waco, where we promise to serve you fully clothed. Check out our website, createacommotion.com.
You want to know why Stonewood Dental is so successful? Listen to what happy customers have to say.
It's pleasant. It's different than any other dentist office. I really feel like they care. And it's not that you're here for 2 hours waiting on someone to take care of you. It's quick and easy, and I bring my kids, and my kids love being here too. They really love the treasure box. Staff is really nice and accommodating, real friendly. You feel more like home. It's not sterile looking. Everybody has their own personalized rooms with decorations and decor, and they'll even have a blanket for you when it's cold. I've recommended people to actually come here, and they are patients now. I really love it here. It feels like family.
Learn more, stonewood-dental.com.
TFNB Your Bank for Life is the official local bank of Baylor Athletics. Find out why more Central Texas are making TFNB their bank for life. Sign up for our Edge checking and savings accounts to earn interest or cash back. With 5 convenient locations and an award-winning mobile app, banking has never been easier. TFNB, your bank for life. Member FDIC.
Stepping into a new pair of boots is great, but stepping into the boots of a U.S. Army officer can also add confidence and leadership skills to your son or daughter's career path. There are more than 150 occupational specialties to help them find the best fit for their future. See all the things your son or daughter can achieve in our boots at GoArmy.com. U.S. Army Waco Recruiting Company, 254-598-8131 or 254-776-1543.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
This segment on Baylor Athletics on Sikkim 365 Radio is brought to you by Richard Carr Buick GMC Cadillac. Learn more at richardcarr.com.
Welcome back to the final hour on this Friday. 365 Sports with Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak. I'm David Smoak, and we continue to try to look back at West Virginia's win against Baylor, also ahead of the weekend with so much more to come. But right now, Sam Bradshaw, S11 on the site, also on Twitter, who analyzes and breaks down trends, matchups, whatever, before a game and also after a game and the day after a game. Sam joins us. And Sam, your opening comment in your post today, absolutely sickening loss. They had a huge game on offense. They were awful on defense, and they lost special teams and turnovers.
That's the long and short of it. You know, you have a game where you average over half the field per drive, and you outgain them significantly. You handle a lot of big moments with Chapin. They had no answer. The running game was on track.
and you find a way to lose. I think the biggest inflection point that night was the unforced fumble that Chapin had when Baylor was just outside West Virginia's red zone. They were up 7, about to go up 2 scores before the half, most likely. And then West Virginia's tied. And then they had another unforced error on the point after. Mental error on the blocking there. West Virginia blocks it and runs it back. Kudos to them for doing it on both those plays. But if you handle your business, those plays don't happen. And that was, at minimum, a 10-point swing directly. But when you consider that Chapin was likely going in to score on that drive, it was a bigger swing than that, and ultimately it got him beat.
Sam, are there schematic issues on defense, talent issues? What would you call the biggest problem right now?
For whichever reason you assign to it, they do not trust that secondary the way they trusted them last year. They are doing everything in their power to stop the run with fewer guys in the box than you would typically see. So if the offense has 5 blockers, they want 5 guys in the block, 5 guys in the box, which for a lot of offensive coaches, we're going to run on that all day. So far this season, the only team that's been able to make them pay for doing that was West Virginia. And West Virginia's got a couple really good run blockers up front. But even then, if they fit counter a little better and if they tackle a little better, the running results from last night are dramatically different. And then beyond that, on the back end, they're conceding way too many short completions. And this is something we discussed on the bye week interview you guys had me on. Way too many short completions, setting up way too many easier third downs makes it difficult to get off the field. And I don't know if it's because they don't feel like they have the guys, period, or if they don't feel like they have guys that are mentally and technique-wise ready yet. And I go back and forth on that, or if they're just so overrating their defensive front's ability to get pressure, and that's informing their strategy. You know, is that something where it's a numbers game and they're taking the analytics a little too far, or if that's something where they just don't have confidence in the back end, and which reason is the reason for that? I honestly go back and forth between those things. But the maddening thing is you've got plenty of speed on the back end, and you've got plenty of athletes in the front 7. This defense should be playing a lot better than it is.
And Sam, that D-line, they still just cannot apply any pressure. I mean, JT Daniels got hit one time last night, and he immediately looked scared to death. And then, 2 plays later, he was back to normal because he realized, I'm probably not going to get hit anymore. I mean, I know that Terrell Bernard and Jalen Petrie were big parts of, being able to get into the backfield, but was that the key to success, was just those guys' talents overall? Because since they've left, I mean, there's been some sacks here and there, but for the most part, quarterbacks are just sitting back there and taking their sweet time.
I feel like it's a lot more on the coverage and what different tactics you're willing to do based off your back end guys.
Okay.
Because you not only lost Kalen Barnes, you also lost Jaron McVay. You lost JT Woods.
Right.
You lost Jalen Petrie. That's a significant chunk of your back 5. And your other starting corner, Al Walcott, is now replacing Petrie. And he's not the blitzer Petrie was, but he's probably a little better cover guy. And then you also lost Tejada. That's a lot of experience, depth, and talent on the back end. And I don't think they have the same confidence in the replacement guys. And let's be honest here. One of the things I was stressing throughout the week, everybody's like, West Virginia's 0-2 in conference. West Virginia's 0-2 in conference. They're 2-3 overall. West Virginia was the flukiest pick 6 I've ever seen in that Pitt game, and an overtime period away from being against Kansas, from being 4-1 coming into that game. Yes, their defense is awful. Their defense was absolutely awful. But West Virginia's offense, they averaged 44 yards per drive in the 4 Power 5 conference games that they had coming into the game. 30 or 33, that range, that's average. They were blowing that away. The opposing defenses they played gave up 30 yards per drive to their other Power 5 teams. So let's not pretend that West Virginia's offense is somehow the scout team or not in like the top 3 offenses in the Big 12 or top 3 offenses Baylor's going to see this year. That was a legit offense, and they did what they did for the vast majority of the year. They had a couple of drives where their drops killed them early against Texas, but from the end of the first half through the end of the game in Austin, West Virginia was stopped one time. And Texas is not a bad defense. So that is a very good offense. And it's a bad night for you to play poorly. It's a bad night for you to give them 10 to 17 point swings. It's a very frustrating game. It doesn't change my opinion of this team because, this team is a young team and they've got the talent to play with anyone in the conference. But they've also got enough youth and inexperience that they'll make some mistakes that will allow the vast majority of the conference, especially this year, to put the hurt on them if they give them the chance. You've got 3 games. You go out to Provo and you spend a half with your offense sputtering. You have maximum protections where nobody blocks the nose guard. You have the quarterback open the wrong way on a rollout and everybody else goes the opposite way. And you have just a litany of errors on that. Then you have special teams errors when you have a kid that can kick it out of the end zone. Just basically spot Oklahoma State 7 points directly and set 7 other ones up. And you have key drops, kill a couple drives, and give them a turnover. And then you have the errors you had in Morgantown. This team just has to put it all together because they've got the talent. Gavin Holmes lost in all this. That kid stepped up after basically being the GOAT of the Oklahoma State loss and getting all that blame. He stepped up and had a banner night, and it's frustrating, and it's especially frustrating in the sense that the hit on Chapin did not look clean. And I do think they still pull that game out if he plays the whole way.
Yeah, a lot of backup quarterbacks. We saw Kansas lose Jalen Daniels, and Bean came in and played well. Thrones played well for Baylor when he had to come in. We saw Hudson Card with Texas with what he's done. Texas Tech has been through 3 of them. It's part of this conference. It's an attrition. It's a grind. Now, is it better if West Virginia just, when they got a first down, told the officials they wanted to be on 3rd and 8?
I don't know about that. Some of those plays were really just outstanding catches by West Virginia, similar to some of the ones that Kyron Drones was able to hit down the stretch. And how did that kid step up? He didn't run the 2-minute drill well, but you don't expect a freshman getting his first real time to do that all that effectively. But, some of them, they were just making perfect throws and catches. But others, I remember there was one conversion, I think it was to either Reese Smith or his backup over the middle. They had Tampa 2 covers, and the linebacker was a little late getting over, and the safety was a little late getting over. And it allowed him to make a big conversion when you had him 3rd and long. They've still got too many of those plays where they're just a little out of position. And they're going to have to get it buttoned up. Obviously, you don't know if Jalen Daniels is going to be healthy for Kansas next week, but they've still got a good kid in Jason Bean. You saw him last year. He's improved if his performance against TCU is any indication. And Kansas is another one of these really good offenses that has put a hurt on basically everybody they've played except for Iowa State, and they still won that game. So, there's no off weeks in the Big 12, and you're going to have to bring your A game. And this team can go on a run if they put it together, but you've got to stop giving teams help. You've got to stop spotting them points.
Lorando Johnson in that end zone where he made the break up in the end zone. That's the kind of play you almost picked it off, and almost, again, balls tipped in the air, almost somebody there, and they're losing that turnover battle. Sam, thanks for your time. It was a tough loss, and you know what? They're 3-3. Do you see 3 wins? You said they can win any game they play the rest of the way, and I get that. And sometimes there's overreactions right after a game. Did you ever think we would get to this point in the season and we started wondering if they're a bowl team?
I don't think we would get to the point that we thought they would be a bowl team. But if you asked me going into the season if every week was going to be a toss-up game that is going to be down to the fourth quarter, I would have said that's pretty fair, considering what they lost and considering just how deep the league is. Do I think they get to a bowl? Yeah. I think you're looking at 6 or 7 wins as a floor. But at the same time, they've got to clean it up. They improved dramatically over the course of the last season, and I expect them to do the same this year. But whether or not they've got the guys on the back end, they've got to mix it up in terms of calls. They've got to do something to take away those sure completions, because even if you don't have perfect candidates, Phil Bennett down the stretch in 2011, that defense was far from what any of us would call really strong. But down the stretch, they got aggressive, and they were able to be disruptive enough for that offense to carry them to some victories.
Sam, thank you, man. Have a great weekend. Appreciate your time. Working overtime always with us. Sam Bradshaw, S11 on the site, breaks things down after the game. He'll do that on the weekend. Also has his 11 bullet points right after the game. All sorts of different reactions to the game. Craig will have his quick, instant reactions. Brian Etheridge has his, among others. And, of course, so do the fans on the message boards. Here's an interesting note. Eddie Lackey last night, they put up a graphic in that game about that 70-63 game back in, 2012. And he was like, no, I don't want to remember that game. It was kind of funny. I love Eddie Lackey. And Dylan Doyle had a pick. I text both you guys. When was the last time he made a game-changing play? And he had the interception. They didn't take advantage of it. And I even said after the interception, when Drones threw it up for grabs, which he didn't need to do, but made the decision, that might have been the dagger. And then Doyle gets the pick. And then there's 2 or 3 fans that come up to me, and then all of a sudden there's Dylan Doyle. That doesn't take away from the points you could have had when you threw the pick. Because Dylan Doyle may have had that interception after you had kicked the field goal to maybe tie the game up. So there's a little bit of that too. Blake Shapen last year, this year has 11 touchdown passes. His entire career prior, 16 overall, including that. Gavin Holmes, the first Baylor player to have 200-plus yards receiving in a game since K.D. Cannon with that spectacular, and his last game at Baylor in the Cactus Bowl when they won the bowl game to finish 7-6 in 2016. Damian Smith on Twitter, the tackling has been really bad this year. I was thinking how much experience the defense lost. Terrell Bernard, Jalen Petrie, J.T. Woods, they're young in the defensive back area. I still believe in this staff, though. Baylor fans need to chill. Caitlin Bickle, Baylor women's basketball player. I don't think a lot of people understand how important maturity and upperclassmen are, and it shows. We lost many valuable pieces last year that were Baylor for 5 or 6 years. It's kind of, when you put those numbers up there, she's right. This team is young. A lot of people are playing defensive, different roles. It's going to take some time, and I know people don't want for anything to take time. When we come back, earlier this week, the Hall of Famer across the board, the great Earl Campbell, the Tyler Rose, sat down with us on college football and life. And that's next on 365 Sports.
During Ram Power Days at Allen Samuels, our great selection of new cars and trucks come with amazing deals and competitive financing that makes you ask, why shop anywhere else? The new 2022 Ram trucks are designed to be durable, functional, and stylish. These legendary, award-winning trucks give you that first-class feel, luxurious leather trim seating options, exceptional legroom and storage, plus surround view camera options you'd expect from a premium truck. Come see our selection today or browse online at allensamuelsdcj.com.
Three Nations Brewing Company has 16 different beers on draft with a new beer every Friday. It also offers 2 air-conditioned tap rooms, a large indoor beer hall, a second-floor mezzanine offering a great overview of the brewing company and equipment and patio where you can relax under the shade. Plus, you can now experience the new Three Nations Beer Garden Grill on our shaded patio. Grab a cold beer and enjoy a bite from our freshly prepared and delicious menu. Street tacos, quesadillas, freshly cooked burgers and dogs, and veggie burgers too. Nachos and so much more, all prepared and cooked on site. So come visit the award-winning Three Nations Brewing Company on East Vandergrift off I-35 in Carrollton.
Let Camille Johnson Realtors guide you seamlessly through the process of buying your dream home or selling your current one. Commercial, farm and ranch, or residential, Camille Johnson Realtors can smoothly and successfully lead you through any transaction. With a team of 28 experienced agents who are excited about serving you, Camille Johnson Realtors services the entire greater Waco area. If you're in the market to buy or sell, contact Camille Johnson Realtors, 104 Midway Center in Woodway, or find them online at www.camillejohnson.com. Camille Johnson Realtors, elegant, charming, warm. Welcome home.
Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine and Orthopedics. The Team physicians for Baylor Athletics, diagnosing and treating all sports-related injuries, including concussions. These specialists also provide orthopedic services for athletes and non-athletes alike, whether it's knee or shoulder pain, hand or wrist injuries, orthopedic spine care, and even an arthritis and total joint clinic. Trust the doctors Baylor Athletics trusts. Baylor Scott and White, Southwest Sports Medicine Orthopedics, wants to get you back in the game.
With so many companies and policies out there, it gets so confusing shopping for insurance, and I never know if I'm getting the policy that's right for me. Luckily, I met the team at the Niche Group Insurance Agency. With the Niche Group, you can go to one company and get access to coverage options from many insurance carriers, and you get to speak to a real person about your specific coverage needs. With the Niche Group, I know I'm getting the right coverage at the right price. If you need insurance, talk to the experts at the Niche Group at 1-800-258-8302.
Hey, this is Bryce Petty, former starting quarterback and two-time Big 12 champion, and I know firsthand the importance of being in top shape both on and off the field. So listen up, men. If you're feeling beat down day in and day out and looking for that high-performance edge that separates the men from the boys, then look no further than the Petty Clinic Low T in Waco. Petty Clinic is a comprehensive men's healthcare clinic with an atmosphere catering to men. Board-certified Dr. Kent Petty has a special interest in offering the highest quality medical care to men of all ages. Some of the services offered include screening and treatment for low testosterone or thyroid, infertility, high blood pressure, diabetes, high cholesterol, sleep apnea, while offering comprehensive wellness exams and complete men's health lab panels. High performance men, remember, it's not just a Petty thing. This is Bryce Petty, encouraging you to reach out and Google search Petty Clinic Low T or go to pettycliniclowt.com and get your complimentary lab screening today.
Welcome back to Sikkim 365 Radio.
The 5 o'clock hour is sponsored by Edward Jones Investments with financial advisor Ben Erlinson, who'll navigate you through today's financial climate. Edward Jones, making sense of investing.
And we're joined by the Hall of Famer at every level imaginable, high school, college, and pro. The great Earl Campbell joins us on 365 Sports. What did you think of your Horns, the Longhorns, Saturday with what they did to Oklahoma and who they are right now?
First of all, I think they did a great job. And I think what we at the university need to start doing is giving Coach Stadium and his coaching staff what they're doing. And I think that's more respect. I think we have a great coach at the university. I think we need to start acting such.
So you think that there's still, you get the feeling that there's still people a little bit grumpy about him?
Well, I just don't, from what I can see, and may I say this, I'm a Monday morning coach and a fifth grade teacher quarterback. So just from what I can see, I don't think we at the university respect and give him and his staff and the coaches what they're doing. I think they need to turn him loose and let's show him that we want him to be a part of our family.
And obviously with what they did to Oklahoma Saturday, the largest route, shutout, all that, that Texas has done to OU, don't you think that if there was any of that, don't you think that calms that down?
I would think so, but, one game doesn't make a coach. But I think that he's proven himself, and I think we need to start acting accordingly. And not only with our mouth, I think our paychecks as well as that.
How often have you talked to him about just life, Earl, about his life, about your life, and had some heart-to-hearts with him just about, not football coach or Hall of Famer, just people?
I think we've had a conversation about 4 times.
And how did he handle you being as honest as you were and you being honest with him and discussing life?
I think there's no secret that I'm a part of Alcohol Anonymous, and I don't think there's no secret that Coach Stegan is part of Alcohol Anonymous as well. And I think we both are honest about it and we talk about it. And that's why I pull for him more than I do the average coach, because I know what's at stake for him.
Earl, the way Texas is right now with the explosiveness they have on offense, it obviously appears there's a rhyme and a reason with what they've done defensively. Despite the loss to Tech, they do have a rhyme and a reason. No matter who you're playing, to shut somebody out in this day and age is hard to do. But let me ask you about Bijan Robinson and Roschon Johnson. Two different type of styles, but both very, very good. Both would be a star running back on their respective teams. Your thoughts as a great running back about what you see from those two?
I think they both are tremendous running backs as well as football players. But I think you're only good as the people around you on your team and your coaches and all that. That's why I think Coach Stegen has done a terrific job in managing all that talent.
Quinn Ewers came back after he was hurt against Alabama. Your thoughts about his talent and what he brings to that program, even though Card played very, very well?
Well, Arnold Carr played very well, but I think from what I could see what happened in the Oklahoma game, that was just a different style of football. That's what it takes to win football games. And when that quarterback came back, it just showed it, just picked everything up 2 or 3 notches.
What is, when you look at what players are doing now and what the changes in the NCAA with NIL, with the transfer portal, none of that was available back in the day. None of that was available even really 3 or 4 years ago, 2 years ago. What are your thoughts? And have you ever thought about what Earl Campbell would have been able to demand if the NIL was available when you came out of John Tyler High School?
Well, I think Earl Campbell got what he was due. I'm not bitter about the situation that's going on now. I think that's great for our athletes because I think that there's so much funds involved into college football and all that. So I think it's also great that it can be shared between the players as well as the school as well as the coaches.
I saw where Quinn Ewers gave his offensive line some Tony Lucchese, I think it was, some bags or whatever for protecting him and obviously helping the offense. If you would have had that opportunity back in the day, do you think about what gift you might have given to your offensive lineman?
Well, when it came time for me to step up to the trial, when you get into pro football, one of the things that was real popular is when you gain 1,000 yards, you took care of your offensive lineman. So my first year, I gave them something. My second year, I gave them something. And my third year was my third MVP in the league. And I reached up and I gave them something that I think all of them would really appreciate even more than when I gave them before. And I gave them all Rolex watches.
That was when you were with the Oilers, correct?
Yes.
Yeah, I remember some of those stories. Earl, do you miss playing the game at all? You've been out now for a long time, but do you miss the game?
No, man, I'm 65 years old. I got so much stuff I'm involved in. And it's like this. Football has kind of passed me by. You thought I was lying when I told you I was Monday morning quarterback or Monday morning running back. That's because I'm so much involved in other things. I don't have time to watch football like people think I do.
When you do watch football today, what do you see at the college or pro level?
I see that as college football is just one of the greatest things going. I see the kids really trying. And you can tell that these coaches have their stamp on the program, and those programs that the coach have his stamp on, they seem to be the one that's playing, that's winning the games. You can tell the team that's more disciplined and all that stuff, you can tell that coach. I can just look at that team one player to and tell that coach is really involved in their children.
You know, you mentioned you're involved in so much more as a businessman, as somebody that is in demand quite a bit. The Hall of Fame in pro football in Canton, of course, the College Football Hall of Fame, and also the Texas Sports Hall of Fame, Texas High School Football Hall of Fame. But you are in demand, and when you're in a room, people want to gravitate. They do gravitate to you. What does that mean to you?
It means a lot, you know, because I think it ain't that I say it, and I think from what I've done over the years, people kind of know that with Earl, you're going to give it a very respectable man, and you know what? He demands you respect him, and he's going to give you that kind of respect.
Do you sometimes not know exactly where you're supposed to be with so many people wanting you?
Well, that's the best thing about being Earl and not having managers and stuff, just my kids and myself. I kind of know where I got to be and what I want to do.
You know,
son Christian does a very good job of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're always helping find room for where you're supposed to be and make sure you're there.
And my son Tyler is like his mother. He counts money very good.
Hey, I've been Tyler's been on our show. We obviously know Christian incredibly well, but Tyler does these podcasts now about life and about lessons and motivations, and it's an incredibly powerful story that he can tell. How much do you guys talk about his life?
Now, me and Tyler got quite a bit, even though he wrote a book and all that. What happened is Tyler, when Christian got tired of traveling with me, Tyler went on a trip to me in Cleveland. That was his first trip. And Jim Brown and myself was there, and Tyler was sitting on my leg. And I mean, it was all it was like who's who of running backs was there. Of course, Jim was first. And Tyler sitting on my knee, and he heard Jim Brown say, "Hey, guys, it's time to go to the public. Listen at this. I'm going to be first, Earl second. The rest of you fools get where you want to be." And Tyler heard that, and he's never forgotten that. And he always says, my Jim Brown says, my dad is second, and he's the best, you know. Tyler took it to another level, but Tyler used to hang around with me. And when I went to the university, I majored in speech communication. That's what I got my bachelor's degree in. And Tyler, I would like to think that some of what he's doing, he's learned it from myself.
Earl, the fight you have fought as well, you mentioned conversations with Steve Sarkisian before about what he has been through, what you have been through, what many people have been through. You and I, the last time I really had a chance to visit with you a little bit on the phone, you were talking about at times at night or in the evenings that you conduct discussions with people about depression and those type of things, the mental health. How much more has that come into your life that people now open up to you about that?
I think quite a bit. You know, I'm not embarrassed. I'm not ashamed about it. I'm really happy that I'm a part of Alcohol Anonymous and drug addiction and the mental health, because I went through a lot of that, and I know what people are talking about. And that's one of the things Sarkisian and I talk about a lot, because we both know what doing drugs are taking pain pills, drinking Budweiser, tequila, white wine, red wine. We know what that does to somebody like us, so it's part of our responsibility to try to tell somebody else, be young, old school teacher, principal, or football player, just tell them about what that would do to your life. And that's how Stark and I really got talking about it, because I kind of know a little bit about Stark's problem, and he probably didn't know nothing about me, but he says, "Earl, I got in a lot of trouble for doing blah, blah, blah." I said, "Yeah, I heard about that." He said, "I can tell you all about what that'll do to you." I said, "Well, you know, I've been a member for 13, 14 years almost. I know what that'll do to you, too. I'm a member, too." We used to go to the same meetings now. But he was a good guy, man. And that's why I think not only am I willing to fight for him, but because I believe in what he's doing.
Earl, for someone like yourself who has been in the role as one of the greatest players in the history of whatever level we've talked about, I've mentioned that many times, was it at all ever difficult for you to have to, admit when Tyler and Christian had the intervention, was it eventually tough for you to publicly admit, because you're this big, strong, powerful man, that you are no different than anybody else that has problems on this earth?
Well, what happened was, because of my kids are the reason I did the damage. That's why I ended up there. But I only ended up there because my two children sit down and talk to me about it. And that's because we had such a great relationship as father, son, best friends, and all that. And it was a time they had to stop saying, we got superstar dad, we got Hall of Fame dad. We got a dad we want to see alive. And when they explained that to me like that, and, you know, now they're not afraid to leave their 5 grandchildren with me. Or like about a week ago, I had an appointment with my 5-year-old granddaughter, Cheyenne. She got tired of seeing me take Messiah, which is my oldest grandson. Him and I go shopping. She said she wanted to go shopping on her birthday, and she wants Pops to take. And Pops wouldn't have been able to take her shopping because my church wouldn't have let me have my grandchildren if I was doing all that other stuff. Mm-hmm. So that's a positive sign of life. You know, those are things you like to hear. It's not the person that make a mistake in life. No matter what it is, no matter how old you are, no matter what level you're on, it's the person that's willing to get up and do something about it.
Why do you think, Earl, that no matter who the opponent was, the rival was, whether it was A&M or Oklahoma or anyone else, or even in the NFL, the Steelers, etc., why do you think that no matter what, people look at you, even if they were a rival, and loved what you were and what you represented and the player you were?
Well, that's because I was raised by a great lady, Miss Ann Campbell, unfortunately. My dad died at such a young age, so she had to step in and be the mother, the father, the brother, the sister, the best friend, because she taught us well. And it was up to us to put that on display. And when I came down to the university, I really did want to be just a pro football player. And I got there and I learned that you could be educated as well as a football player. And I think things like that is when you step back and look at life and say, gee, what mom, what brother, and what uncle and auntie and best friends were saying was really right. I'm happy I listened. And that's one of the unfortunate things. I will fight until the day I die, because I think it's very, very selfish of us that are around these athletes in schools at Baylor, the University of Texas, TCU, anything. I think it's embarrassing that these children are such a successful football players and college athletes. But I think it's a hell of an embarrassment to have children on your campus and they can good enough to run your basketball, hit your baseball, play your football. But after 3-4 years when they leave there, they played around their whole life and you didn't have enough to help them kids get an education. I think every program in America should be embarrassed about that. And there's a lot of those schools now, those kids are good enough to be their athletes, but they don't do a damn thing about making sure those kids get an education.
Do you feel like now, Earl, because of the NIL, because young men and women, athletes are getting money, that the education part or the transfer portal, they can leave almost any time they want? Does that also on the athlete to make sure that they follow up too?
I think it's very important. It starts from the top down, from your athletic director all the way down to your professors at school, your mom and dad, letting these kids get away with that. I only say this because I know how it feels to play college football. I know how it feels to get an education while you're trying to play football. And I know how it feels to raise your children that's not going to be able to be as successful as dad was in pro football. But seeing them now out in the world producing because they're educated kids.
Earl,
and I did something one time And I was talking to Christian and Tyler, and they said, "What, Dad? Why do we need to do this?" Why? I said, "You need to get you an education." "Well, what is that?" I turned around the wall and looked. And they said, "Oh, that's speech communication." I said, "That's where I got my degree from at the University of Texas." And as people know, these universities, if their kids are good enough to play your football and baseball, they're good enough to get an education.
Last question for you, sir. And as always, we appreciate you anytime you can be a part of the show. Texas, with the great win on Saturday and what they did, they have Iowa State coming into town. There has been really for about, 10 or 12 years where Texas has been like a roller coaster of emotions, up and down and up and down and up and down. And anytime it seems like they're about to go back up and stay up, then there is not a good ending for a game or two or three or four. What makes you think this team might be one that allows them to sustain the success that they had this weekend and so far with most of it this year?
Well, let me tell you something. If you go back and look when they started playing Alabama, they showed people that they can play with football against the elite. And that's because of Sarkisian and what he brings to the program. But what those kids have shown, including last Saturday, that wasn't just a fluke. They showed the American people and those Texas fans that we are a good football team. But what happens is, it's like when Darryl Roy and Fred Akers was coaching me down at the university. The thing is, they need to realize that every week, you in the Southwest Conference, used to be Big 12 now, but every week when you go to the University of Texas, I understood from Jump Street, I was in the Super Bowl because everybody wants to be Texas. And I think Sarkisian has shown these guys, y'all are just as good as anybody else. Now let's just go do it.
Earl, thank you, as always, for what you do. Earl Campbell, a Hall of Fame at every level in football, an incredible man as well, with us on 365 Sports. Earl, thank you.
I thank you very much. But what happened to me now is I've signed a deal in Vegas, and I come out here once a month. So that's why it's been so hard for you to catch up to me. I'm on the road.
I know. I get it. I get why they would want you there in Vegas and anywhere because of the popularity of what you do. That's Earl Campbell, the great Earl Campbell on 365 Sports. Thank you.
Baylor University is where lights shine bright. So let there be light. Let there be roommates and teammates, scholarship and championships. Let there be fresh starts and new traditions, fast friendships and lasting impacts. Let there be laughter. Let there be joy. Let there be light. Baylor University, where lights shine bright.
Hi, this is Paul Catalina. I recently got engaged to the love of my life, but the most important thing that I had to do before I popped the question was get that perfect ring. And I know nothing about rings. So I went to the wedding ring store, Boozer's Jewelers on Valley Mills Drive. I knew I needed a custom design, and that's exactly what they do. 9 out of 10 of their engagement rings are designed in-house. The entire process took less than a month, and they were great every step of the way. Great options on financing, excellent selection, and talented designers. My fiance and I get nonstop compliments on the ring. I only deserve credit for doing the smartest thing I could, walking into Boozer's and letting them work their magic. Your one-of-a-kind fiance deserves a one-of-a-kind ring, and that's what you get at Boozer's. Boozer's Jewelers, the wedding ring store on Valley Mills Drive.
From the first workout to the last practice, sports is an incredible and rewarding challenge. Hi, this is Dan Ingham with the First National Bank of Central Texas, and we're proud to support each athlete, every parent, and our educators. From families, small businesses, to the biggest industry, we're here to help. With remarkable products like our free First mobile app, we've got banking ideas that fuel big dreams. That's the First National Bank of Central Texas. Familiar faces making local decisions.
Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Hi, I'm Mark Stewart with Bird Colgan Ford. It's that time of year. It's football season.
And BK Ford is a proud supporter of the best high school football teams in Texas, right here in Central Texas. BK Ford is proud to sell the #1 truck in Texas, the F-Series truck, led by our leading rusher, the F-150, 45 years in a row. Lock in your best price and rate today by custom ordering your new F-150 at BK Ford. Simple, easy, trusted. Experience better at Bird Colgan Ford.
It's football and tailgate season. If you want product for the grill or smoker, charcoal, seasonings, marinades, sauces, Waco Custom Marketplace is your home to help prep, cook, and enjoy your food. Tailgate must like brisket, tri-tip, fresh-made burgers, sausage, chicken wings, and if you want steaks, call in your order and pick them up. Bacon wrap fillets or any kind of ribeyes. USDA Select, Choice, and Prime that melt in your mouth. House-made sausage and jerky. Also, Waco Custom Marketplace, a one-stop shop for tailgating, barbecue cook-offs, and family get-togethers, fundraisers with fair prices to you, the customer. A bakery with fresh baked bread and kolaches. There's cold beer, wine, and soft drinks. Serving Waco restaurants and families since 1940. A cut above the rest. Waco Custom Marketplace, open Monday through Saturday at 425 Lake Air Drive in Waco.
This is Paul Catalina's Top 5 at 5:55.
Top 5 things Baylor needs to reboot their season after that 43-40 loss last night and 2 losses in a row. This is a team that's probably a little bit reeling this morning as they came in and rewatched what happened last night and saw themselves shoot themselves in the foot several times last night, over and over and over again. We've discussed it at length, but I thought we'd put a bow on it here at the end of the show. I haven't done a Baylor-specific top 5 in a very, very long time, so shows you how that was last night, and maybe time to hit, maybe not the panic button, but the reset button here in Waco. Number 5, coverage, and I mean pass coverage, kick coverage, any kind of coverage they have not been good at, and especially the last 2 weeks. Kick coverage has damaged them, set up West Virginia very well for what turned out to be the game-winning drive, although I'm pretty sure the way they were running the ball, they could have gotten it at the 1, and West Virginia would have maybe scored then as well, but the coverage has not been good, guys.
No, I agree. I mean, the kick return by Oklahoma State was a dagger almost to start the second half, although Baylor dug themselves out of that hole. Then it was the other kick return out to the 50. And I keep saying this, even though it doesn't seem like much, but allowing West Virginia to return the kickoff after you tie the game up out to their nearly 35-yard line gave them the thought that 3 or 4 first downs and they kick a field goal to win the game. Of course, they could have scored. And Baylor, something's missing there on kick coverage. And also, by the way, kicking into the end zone, which Rauschenberg does a lot. But there have been times, not sure if it's the weather, the turf, whatever it is, and he has been, or they have been hurt by it.
Or blocked extra points. Or, I think the biggest loss in this team last year was probably Matthew Pallage.
Yeah.
Not Jalen Petrie, not Terrell Bernard, is Matthew Pallage, who coached safeties and special teams. And where are we seeing the most obvious glaring holes in this team? It's in the back end of coverage and it's on special teams. They've lost 2 games in a row now because of special teams. Mm-hmm. I mean, you can dissect giving up this or giving up that. Special teams specifically has cost them 2 straight games because of massive miscues. Without that blocked extra point last night, I think Baylor wins by 3 scores. Mm-hmm. But it was just a massive flip of the game. So they're ailing there in a major way.
Number 4, tackling. This is run defense all across the board. Tackling in the open field after pass plays. This was a team last year that pretty much when they hit you, you went down. There was a run, one of the touchdown runs last night. I think it might have been when it was 24-24. And again, it was a long night last night, but 2 different Baylor defenders threw their shoulders into the running back, and he ran through them both like he was going through a saloon door. Just
good point. That's a good way to
just
look at it.
Kicked him out, and was ready to get some sarsaparilla in him and have a big old time. But that was not what we saw from Baylor last year. When they hit you, you went down. They also used their arms and not their shoulders, and I was shocked to see a Dave Aranda defense tackling like they did last night.
I'll tell you this. I saw not only the shoulder tackle, which is trying to force somebody near the sideline, maybe out of bounds, but in the middle of the field, it almost could launch him even bigger into a run or whatever it might be. But I saw arm tackling, jumping at the feet. There were many times when West Virginia they weren't touched on a lot of occasions. And we've seen that maybe more than just the game against West Virginia.
Yeah, it was soft. I thought there's a real lack of physicality, and maybe I need to rewatch the game, but just simply because there was more physicality than I seem to have gleaned from it. But I can rewatch that game 10 times, and I'm not going to see better tackling. I know that for sure. So, yeah, it's a massive problem for them. And allowed, I don't know how much extra yardage last night, but had to have been like 200 yards. I mean, I would have to think after contact. I mean,
well, that's a big number, but it was a bunch. It was a bunch.
Obviously, being a bit hyperbolic here, but you get the gist of what I'm trying to say.
I agree.
There's a lot of extra yardage.
Yeah. All right, number 3. The pass rush.
What pass rush?
Lethal last year. I mean, in their opus, the Sugar Bowl, where they had 10 sacks in the game, or 9 sacks in the game, a really unbelievable performance in that game. You would have thought with some of the, especially the defensive linemen they had coming back and bringing in Jackson Player, that they would still be able to get after the passer. They're not. Now, one of the things that teams are doing, and Jack pointed this out to me earlier, I will give him credit again, is a lot of quick 3-steps drops, 1 read, and the defensive backs are not knocking receivers off their route enough. They're not making the quarterback question that first read enough. So he's going really quick, so there's not much they can do. But in the longer dropbacks, they're still not getting there. When they have time to get there, where they would have been getting there, they're not getting there regardless of what's going on.
Yeah, I've read that too, and I've seen that talk. But I mean, JT Daniels was standing back there multiple times, just standing there. So it's like, I get that, and I do agree that some of that's on the secondary, but I don't know, man. Like, who were their big pass rushers last year, and where are they now? They're in the NFL.
Yeah.
So, like, it's not like the guys that are here were big disruptive pass rushers last year. The guys that are gone. So I don't know that they really ever replaced them. Now, yeah, it's some of what the offense is doing. It's some of what's going on in the secondary. But, I mean, just who's the disruptive guy on defense? It was supposed to be Matt Jones or someone like him, and I can't name a single player who's in the backfield.
Bryson Jackson, I thought, was going to be one of those too.
Maybe a couple times we've said his name, but for the most part, it felt like Bernard and Petrie were back there like every other play.
Yeah,
if anything, the quarterback had to move, but I'm not seeing that. So I think it's a combination of things, and you can't just blame the defensive line because, they are playing, better than they're probably given credit for, but I don't believe for one second that it's the secondary that's like the sole reason as to why they're not getting any kind of pressure on the quarterback.
Yeah. Number 2, health. Blake Shapen, concussion last night. Khalil Keith's been out for a long time, and it looks like maybe he's coming back, so that's good news. Tay McWilliams is still a little ways away if you listen to Dave Aranda and what he said. He doesn't seem to – he's very non-committal on when they're going to see Tay McWilliams. Squirrel Williams hit his head last night, and we'll find out what that is, I'm sure, here soon. Richard Reese broke his nose last night. So they have all these different things going on. They need to be healthy if they want to make this run and stay in contention for the conference race, which even at 3-3, I know that the sky appears to be falling. They do have to win out to probably guarantee that, but it's there in front of them if they win games. But they've got to get healthy to do that, and nobody's going to sit around and wait for them to do that.
Last year when they lost the game in Fort Worth to TCU, I said, there goes the chance to play for a Big 12 title. I was wrong, but that was much deeper into the season than it was at Game 6 when you've only played 3 conference games.
Yeah, I have no faith in them being able to replicate that. I really don't. I mean, I do think this team is capable of going on a run, but I just don't see enough there to really rally around and buy into that at the moment. Like, I think talent-wise, they can do that. I think we saw last night they could have won that game. Like, we know that they're capable of winning games, but I'm not buying into them being able to put together a complete game time after time after time after time after time, over the next month and a half. I don't see it with this group. So, health would go a long way in that regard. I'd love to know what the average is for concussions per team, because they seem like they've had, the Tay McWilliams, Blake Shapen, Squirrel Williams, and I don't even know who we're maybe missing as well, but concussions in particular have really dealt a blow.
Yeah, I'm sorry about that. That was an alarm that I had going off. That's not good. Yeah, and I'm not so sure that we haven't seen Jordan Jenkins, the running back out of Lindale, who's in his second year, because of something like that even occurred possibly during the week or not leading up to the last game. But there's more of those. There's concussions that are a part of the game, and they're obviously trying to be careful with them.
They're going to need some running backs to get healthy, because right now the only one that they can play last night was Quaylon Jones, and he was the four-string guy last year. He's the four-string guy again this year. That's who he is.
Saw a little bit of that Richard Reese. But you're right, Quaylon Jones is more of a guy that seems to be kind of clumpy and had there's a fumble that doesn't need to get overlooked.
That fumble was awful, man.
That was wrong. Well, as the ball is in the left hand, the guy hits him on his elbow. It's a great job by West Virginia to force it, but for a big physical running back like that, you have to protect the football.
Yeah. And number one, the thing that they need to reboot is their identity, because this is not the team that's knocking you around along the lines like it was last year. This is not the team that owns the running game. Can they do things on offense? Yeah, we've seen them do that. They can't really do anything on defense right now, but this is not the team that they thought that they were going to be coming in, and you're at the halfway point now, so you don't have to be that team if that's not who you can be. I think that's sometimes the mistake that teams make, is they're convinced that, this is the way that we have to win. Well, one of the best things I think about the 7-6 Matt Rule team was that their identity was that whatever it's going to take to beat this particular team, we're going to do, because they knew they couldn't particularly do everything they wanted to do. They were kind of like Indiana Jones. They walk into the thing, rocks start falling, you just hit the whip on something and swing around until you land on your feet. This team might need to do a little bit of that, where just try to find what works and shift to that.
How about just not giving the ball back? And how about fumbling when no one's around you?
I mean, I agree to an extent, but I think their identity is pretty clear. They're an electric offense that can score some points, but they can't get stops to save their life. At least as of last night, and really against Oklahoma State as well, but especially last night. I mean, I think that they kind of know who they are. I think some of the not knowing who they are, I think that's as much outside fan noise and media perhaps as anything. I think the team kind of knows their deal. I just don't think that they can execute very well.
No, the absolute thing is we do know who they are. Like Craig said, their offense is electric, which we thought was going to be the offense we would see with Blake Shapen when they made the decision at quarterback, and we saw that last night. We know their identity on defense is that they are incredibly overrated, based on what the expectations, not just by you, me, or whoever, by even the coaching staff. And it is obvious after what happened in West Virginia. All right.
I wanted to say something like Gavin Holmes, terrific game last night from that young man. I thought that Blake Shapen was terrific as well before he got hurt. I do think there are positives to glean from that. Special teams has to be corrected. That has to change. The tackling has to change. They had 3 or 4 picks last night they could have had, and just either didn't look up quick enough, or just there's not a lot of natural instinct on this team, it feels like, in some ways.
That might be experience.
Right, and that's experience, and that's fine. That's a thought that came into my head, but there's some things that you can clean up and things that only come with time. They're not a terrible football team, even though it probably sounds that way after listening to this show, but that was an awful loss last night, and that's why it sounds the way that it does. We'll be back next week and talking about the next game and all of that. Not saying the season's over, but that was an awful loss.
Well, Ricky
it really
Thompson was right there, and he said it. He played at Baylor, and he didn't sugarcoat it as well.
Congrats to West Virginia.
Tomorrow, Kansas at Oklahoma, Iowa State at Texas in Austin, and Oklahoma State plays at TCU. That game is a 2:30 game on ABC, so hopefully get a bunch of people. The Big 12 yesterday announced that the 14-game schedule for the 23-24 seasons will include Texas and Oklahoma, which means they're going to be around for the next couple of years, and they will try to make sure they get that figured out. We mentioned, Bob Berta told us, right, Wednesday, in fact, that they should release it sometime pretty soon in November. For Garrett Ross, also for Jack McKenzie, Paul, Catalina, and Craig Smoak, and our sponsors, and you who watch us and are here every day on 365 Sports. I'm David Smoak. Have a great weekend and good night.
Ideal MRI is a small family business right here in Central Texas. We're open to support you while lowering the cost of healthcare bills. When you need an MRI, ask your doctor for an Ideal MRI. Visit us at idealmri.com or call us at 833-IDEAL-MRI.